Chapter 354. If not for the fact that Ju Tian doesn't like women, Ju Tian would definitely be an expert at picking up girls. Appearing at the most helpless time of a girl, his timing was very accurate. Furthermore, hugging and comforting the other party like this, the other party was even more touched. Just like Dongfang Yuan'er, other than the senior sister that day, Dongfang Yuan'er was the second person that spoke up for me. No one else dared to offend the Bai family. "You are my girlfriend's teacher," Bai Qi said confusedly. Ju Tian lightly caressed Dongfang Yuan'er's beautiful hair, but in his heart, he wanted to directly kill her. Women! I hate women! However, for the sake of his honor's mission, Ju Tian endured the impulse in his heart. Not only am I her teacher, I am also her man. This time, Bai Qi was startled. Even Dongfang Yuan'er was startled. I know that Professor Ju is helping me, but he is someone from Bai family. Professor Ju, don't say anymore. What Dongfang Yuan'er meant was for Ju Tian to not help her anymore, otherwise, he would bring trouble upon himself. However, in Bai Qi's ears, it didn't sound like this at all. This Dongfang Yuan'er doesn't want me to say anymore. So she already has a man. No wonder she doesn't want me to touch her. She is definitely afraid that I would find out that it wasn't her first time. I, the dignified young master of Bai family, was actually cuckolded. This is a humiliation. Today, I am going to kill the two of you. Bai Qi relied on his big sister's power, and did quite a lot of bad things. Adding on that no one dared to provoke him, this increased his arrogance even more. Especially during this period of time, his big sister is simply going to become the family head. As for me, I am also a young master of an aristocratic family. I don't put anyone in my eyes, let alone a person from a small family. Of course, Bai Qi still had some foundation, but he was only slightly stronger than ordinary people. Ju Tian raised his hand and directly slapped Bai Qi onto the wall. Bai Qi held onto his cheek and looked at Ju Tian in disbelief. "You dare to slap me? Do you know who my big sister is? Do you know who I am? I only need to move a finger and you two will die." Bai Qi's handsome face was especially terrifying. His family's power had grown so much that he had almost forgotten his surname. Dongfang Yuan left Ju Tian's embrace and bowed to Ju Tian. "Professor Ju, thank you for helping me. But please don't bother about this anymore, otherwise you will be in danger." What a good girl. She would rather put herself in danger than drag others down. However, Ju Tian did not feel anything at all. In his mind, there was only his honor's command, and the completion of his honor's command. "Get out," Absolute Heaven said gravely. Bai Qi was startled. He didn't see anything unusual. "Let's go, but don't let me see you. Otherwise, I will beat you to death." After saying that, Bai Qi walked out. Just as Absolute Heaven had thought, the white flag would only be useful if it was turned into a corpse. As for Dongfang Yuan'er, this woman was still very useful. "Are you all right?" Absolute Heaven asked, concerned. Dongfang Yuan'er shook her head. "Professor Ju, it's better for you to quickly leave, otherwise woo." Dongfang Yuan'er's beautiful eyes widened as she stared in disbelief at this overbearing and cold man in front of her. He actually forcefully kissed her. Shouldn't I push him away? Why did his hands seem to have no strength? Ju Tian almost vomited, but he endured it and kissed her. Dongfang Yuan'er was related to the destruction of the Dongfang family, and Guan Yinxin had a lot of news about the aristocratic families. These two girls must be won over. If it really doesn't work, then I'll learn from Lai Gu and directly do it. Although it was a bit disgusting, I will just treat it as being bitten by a little puppy. One must know that Ju Tian's original form was a cat, and he was very misophobic, to the point that he didn't even want to touch women. After separating his lips, Ju Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan'er and said, "Don't worry, in the future, no one will bully you other than me." Professor Ju, we can't do this. Thank you for your good intentions." Dongfang Yuan'er's face was completely red. What Ju Tian brought her was a strong sense of security, and in this kind of dangerous situation, her heart felt warm. However, Ju Tian wouldn't let Dongfang Yuan'er go. He pulled her back and pressed her against the wall. Dongfang Yuan'er didn't dare to look straight at Ju Tian's gaze and lowered her head. "Do you still want to let him bully you?" Ju Tian asked coldly. "This is my life." Dongfang Yuan said in a low voice. Zhu Tian lifted up Dongfang Yuan's chin and said faintly, "Right now, you have the chance to change your life." Professor Zhu, I don't want you to be implicated. It must be said that Dongfang Yuan had a good impression of Zhu Tian, otherwise, she wouldn't have let Zhu Tian snatch away her first kiss. Of course, this was also Absolute Heaven's first kiss. However, it made Absolute Heaven feel nauseous. I like you. When Absolute Heaven said such words, he wished that he could give himself a slap. This was 2F** King disgusting. However, for the sake of his honor's command, they had no choice but to endure it. After all, after the mission was completed, they would no longer be needed anymore. Dongfang Yuan was stupefied. She looked at Zhu Tian, who was in front of her in a daze. Song Xiaoxiao was right. He was really handsome, and gave her a sense of security. If she wasn't herself, she would definitely be his girlfriend. Professor Zhu, please behave yourself. After saying that, Dongfang Yuan trotted out with tears in her eyes. Zhu Tian was stupefied. There was actually a woman who could escape the might of his looks. Even that Guan Yinxin was mesmerized by her. But this Dongfang Yu was actually unmoved. Interesting. But I like high difficulty. Tonight, Bai Qi had to die. And he had to die fair and square. Absolute Heaven took out a handkerchief and wiped his hands. He then walked out of the stairwell. At this moment, the banquet was reaching its climax. On the stage was the head of the Guan family, Guan Tong. He was giving his speech. Meanwhile, the people from Jiang family had arrived as well. The handsome little brother who was sitting beside Jiang Yuanzhou was Jiang Yuanzhou's youngest son, Jiang Jianhua. Jiang Jianhua looked a bit strange. He seemed a bit slow-witted. This didn't mean that he was sick, rather, Jiang Jianhua was afraid of strangers. It was very difficult for him to go out all year round. And now that he had reached the marriageable age, he found Guan family's youngest daughter. The two families could be said to be well matched in terms of social status, and no one was trying to curry favor with the other. In the future, if there was anything that happened, everyone could discuss it together. Guan Tong, who was on the stage, was finally going to get down to business. Actually, there is another joyous event today, and that is the marriage between my Guan family and Jiang family. Let's welcome the two newlyweds. Guan Tong took the lead and applauded. The beautiful Guan Yinxin was dignified and attractive. As the daughter of an aristocratic family, Guan Yinxin could be counted as a rather outstanding woman. On the other hand, Jiang Jianhua had his back arched. His expression was slightly nervous, and his gaze was erratic. It seemed like he didn't like this kind of occasion. This Jiang Jianhua is not worthy of her. Guan Yinxin had already given up long ago. This is fate. To marry a cowardly man. Chapter 355. Jiang Yuanzhou stood up, stroked his collar, and slowly walked onto the stage with a dignified air. Just the way he walked up to the stage won him the applause of the patriarchs. Alright, it was just flattery. Jiang Yuanzhou waved his hand, signaling everyone to be quiet. He then patted his son's shoulder. The latter immediately shrank back, as if he was about to be beaten. Jiang Yuanzhou saw his son's performance and glared fiercely at him. Don't make a fool of yourself in front of so many people. However, Jiang Jianhua was even more afraid. Maybe it was because he was beaten by his father when he was young. Now, when his father stared at him, he immediately became terrified. Straighten your back. Jiang Yuanzhou slapped his son's waist. He was so shocked that he immediately stood up straight, as if he was about to receive some sort of commendation. His chin was lifted slightly. If Jiang Jianhua had a little more confidence, he would also be a talent. Unfortunately, he had been traumatized by his father when he was young, and had no confidence at all. It's my son's fortune to have such a good wife like Yin Xian. It's also a joyous occasion for the Jiang family. Of course, Guan Tong had to be polite as well. The fat on his face began to tremble. Brother Jiang is too polite. It is Yin Xian's fortune to be able to marry into the Jiang clan. Besides, Jianhua is a talented man with an imposing appearance. He is rare in this world. The compliments from the heads of the two aristocratic families really gave people goosebumps. Guan Yinxin, who was like a block of wood, looked as if she had lost her soul. Actually, Everyone knew that this was because they had no choice but to join together for the sake of benefits. Say something, Jiang Yuanzhou said to his son in a low voice. After all, today was considered a public relationship, followed by an engagement, and then a marriage. As a man, of course, he had to express a few words. Jiang Jianhua looked at the large group of people in front of him and revealed a timid expression, unable to spit out a single word. No one knew who took the lead to applaud, but everyone began to encourage Jiang Jianhua, as if they were kindergartners who needed encouragement from adults before they would speak. This caused Jiang Yuanzhou's expression to turn ugly. However, this move was indeed useful. I like her very much, Jiang Jianhua said while stuttering, expressing his feelings very well. Although it was difficult, he still said it. Jiang Yuanzhou was relieved. Guantong also felt relieved. It was a good thing for his daughter to marry him. After all, with his daughter's intelligence, at least she wouldn't be bullied. The audience applauded again. Yinxin, come and say something, Guantong said to her daughter. Guan Yinxin came back to her senses and asked curiously, "What are you guys talking about?" The corner of Guantong's mouth twitched. Jiang Yuanzhou's face immediately darkened. On the other hand, Jiang Jianhua was sullen. His goddess didn't hear him at all. Guantong smiled and reminded him in a low voice, "Just say that you like Jiang Jianhua." Guan Yinxin did not like him at all. She hated this kind of cowardly man the most. He had no manliness at all, and was even weaker than her. But what could he do? Speak, Guantong shouted in a low voice, but he still had a weak smile on his face. After the marriage between Guan and Jiang, there would be a new situation. Guan Yinxin also knew that she had no choice but to speak up. Taking a step forward, she raised her arrogant chin, only to see Zhu Tian walking back. He didn't leave. He was back. Guan Yinxin's obedient heart started to rebel again. She would rather die than marry such a man. If you want to hold hands, you can't use me in exchange. Seeing her daughter suddenly smile, Guantong had a bad feeling. Jiang Yuanzhou and Jiang Jianhua thought it was Guan Yinxin who smiled happily and felt very comfortable. "I like him." Guan Yinxin said it very straightforwardly and boldly. Everyone couldn't help but admire this kind of woman. As a daughter of an aristocratic family, she dared to do this. Guantong knew it would be like this. Guan Yinxin's brother stood at the side and looked at Zhu Tian, who was walking over. The smile of the father and son of the Jiang family froze on their faces. "That's right." Guan Yinxin pointed at Zhu Tian and shouted this sentence. She was a very courageous young lady. Zhu Tian also liked this result. Because of him, the relationship between the Guan and Jiang family had fallen to a freezing point. Now it needed to be added to the ice. Zhu Tian rubbed his eyes and put his left hand in his pocket. He stretched out his right hand and hooked his finger at Guan Yinxin. Everyone's heart sank. You don't put the two families in your eyes at all. You actually hooked your finger at the daughter of an aristocratic family. Besides, she was the daughter of an aristocratic family. Your action of beckoning her with your finger showed deep contempt, as if you were looking for a mistress. Although she said that she liked you, she would not come over. After all, the daughter of an aristocratic family had pride. However, everyone was disappointed. Guan Yinxin was like a canary that was released from its cage. With a happy smile, she ran towards Zhu Tian. In Guan Yinxin's eyes, Zhu Tian's hooking finger action was too domineering. She loved to conquer this kind of man, cold and domineering. Everyone watched as Guan Yinxin threw herself into the man's embrace. And that man actually directly kissed Guan Yinxin's cherry lips. The important thing was that his hands were actually pressing on her but in grabbing it. Grabbing someone's, but in front of so many people. Those deep marks were already visible. Domineering. This was completely the rhythm of not wanting to see tomorrow's sun. Dongfang Yu'er, who was in the crowd, saw Zhu Tian kissing Guan Yinxin and slowly turned her head. At this moment, Guan Yinxin was completely intoxicated. She had completely forgotten where she was. Her first kiss was actually given in this kind of situation. Her little but was already hurting from being grabbed by her teacher. How exciting after a long kiss. Guan Yinxin nestled in Zhu Tian's embrace with a tender and beautiful blush. That look was as if she wouldn't marry anyone else. As for Ju Tian, he almost vomited again. Later on, he really had to buy some anti-vomiting medicine. It would still be useful in the future. Father, look at her. She was kissed by another man. I don't like it anymore. Jiang Jianhua was rather straightforward. Seeing his goddess being kissed, he was very jealous and didn't want her anymore. Jiang Yuanzhou looked towards Guantong with a sunken face. Guantong, you have to give me a good explanation for this matter. After speaking, he prepared to leave with his son. Guantong hurriedly shouted. Brother Jiang, my daughter was muddled for a moment. Father, I am not muddled. Guan Yinxin said with a tender smile. She very domineeringly kissed Ju Tian's lips. She felt that Ju Tian's lips had a good texture, and even carried a fragrance. Guantong's mouth was almost crooked from anger. Seeing this, Jiang Yuanzhou coldly snorted. Guantong, this is the good daughter you taught. Making fun of my Jiang family. Brother Jiang, what do you mean by that? Guantong did not do it on purpose. In actuality, Guantong was already lowering his status and begging Jiang Yuanzhou. However, in the end, Guantong was still a family head of an aristocratic family. In front of everyone, Ju Tian was kissing Guan Yinxin, who was in his embrace with all his might, and his hands were even roaming around Guan Yinxin's lower abdomen. So painful to the eyes. If there is really no one around, are the two of you going to fight for real? Look at her. Did I say anything wrong? Jiang Yuanzhou pointed at Guan Yinxin, who was kissing passionately, and shouted out. In actuality, Guantong was very angry as well. My daughter is actually hugging and kissing a man in front of so many people. My face is about to be completely thrown away. Just as the two family heads were arguing with each other, a commotion suddenly came out from the crowd. You are a profligate son. This was Tang Wushuang's voice. I am not a profligate son. You are talking nonsense. Bai Qi had a wronged look on his face, as if he had received a huge blow. Right after he finished speaking, he immediately ran towards the balcony and leaped into the balcony under the gaze of everyone. The entire place was deathly silent, until a muffled sound rang out. Bai Qi. Chapter 356. Everything happened too quickly. It was so fast that no one expected someone to jump off the building. The person who jumped off the building was the young master of the Bai family, Bai Qi. Guan Yinxin was still unaware of what was going on. Her beautiful eyes were currently closed as she enjoyed Ju Tian's kiss. Meanwhile, the corner of Ju Tian's mouth was curled into a strange smile. During the Guan family's banquet, the Bai family's young master committed suicide by jumping off a building. The reason was that he was insulted by Tang family's Tang Wushuang. Originally, the two families were in the limelight, competitors of aristocratic families. Now that Bai Qi had been humiliated by Tang Wushuang to the point of committing suicide by jumping off a building, as the elder sister, it was impossible for Bai Cixin to let the Tang family off just like that. Right now, Tang Wushuang was also very stupefied. Just now, he had accidentally bumped into this little brat's head, and this fellow, relying on his status, actually dared to speak rudely to him. Originally, Tang Wushuang didn't want to fuss about it, but who knew that he would scold him a little more? Damn it, he actually jumped off the building. Is your heart made of tofu? With such a thing happening, the two clan heads naturally couldn't leave. They had to uphold justice. Bai Qi's corpse was quickly carried up. Although it was covered by a white cloth, the blood had already dyed the white cloth red. Jumping from such a high place, his death must have been very miserable. In the end, he was just a hedonistic son of a rich family. He didn't even know how to fly. Bai Cixin stared at her younger brother's corpse. It was only then that she did not realize that humans and ghosts were completely different. After his parents passed away, they told him to take good care of his younger brother. He didn't expect that he would break his promise. Bai Cixin didn't cry, but her pair of beautiful eyes were red and ice-cold as she stared fixedly at Tang Wushuang. Looking at his brother-in-law committing suicide, Wang Debao was worried for his wife. Ju Tian hugged Guan Yinxin and stood at the side watching. Guan Yinxin asked, Ju Tian, why don't you think this child can understand? Youngsters are all impulsive. They can't stand being humiliated, so they act recklessly. Absolute Heaven said calmly. His words caused everyone to nod their heads. However, Bai Cixin did not agree. She stretched out her slender hand, and the 9 demons punishing tower appeared in her hand. It emitted a ghostly mist, and the temperature of the scene dropped instantly. 9 demons punishing tower. That's the legendary 9 demons punishing tower. Heavens, this 9 demons punishing pagoda is really amazing. Guan Tong shouted in a deep voice. Bai Cixin, what are you doing? Patriarch Guan, what do you think I'm going to do? I want to avenge my brother. Bai Cixin shouted coldly. Jiang Yuanzhou said indifferently. By family head, this is your younger brother's suicide, and no one harmed him. Tang Wushuang was just too extreme with his words. Furthermore, your 2 families are currently in the midst of the election, and Voidless Realm forbids your 2 families from fighting each other. If not, you will lose the right to participate in the election. Jiang Yuanzhou reminded Bai Cixin that if she fought now, she might lose the chance to run for the position of an aristocratic family. Tang Wushuang didn't have any intention of apologizing at all. In fact, he even wanted to infuriate Bai Cixin into making a move on him. This way, he would be able to sit on the position of the aristocratic family head. By family head, your younger brother's mental quality is extremely poor. I, Tang, had only helped you to discipline him for a while, and now, he's unable to think straight. My condolences. Tang Wushuang's words almost caused Bai Cixin to go berserk. Fortunately, Wang Debao stopped her and reminded her in a deep voice. Honey, calm down. If you make a move now, Bai Qi will have died for nothing. Bai Cixin stared fixedly at Tang Wushuang. Bai Cixin was also well aware of the consequences of him making a move on Tang Wushuang. Of course, he had to take revenge for Tang Wushuang. But not here. Don't tell me that Tang Wushuang isn't responsible for my younger brother's death. Bai Cixin questioned. Guan Tong and Jiang Yuanzhou glanced at each other. Actually, the death of a person wasn't a big deal, but the death was indeed from an aristocratic family, which was more troublesome. Although Tang Wushuang didn't do anything, he still insulted Bai Qi. And this caused Bai Qi to commit suicide by jumping off the building. If one were to say that Tang Wushuang wasn't at fault, it wouldn't make sense. Guan Tong said in a deep voice. Bai Cixin, I deeply sympathize with what happened to you, but the dead can't come back to life. My condolences. The meaning of these words was a little biased. Bai Ci had completely tricked him. This was bullying. Wang Debao was unconvinced and said angrily. This Tang Wushuang clearly knows that the 2 families are in the midst of the election, and yet, he still insulted the 2 families, causing my brother-in-law's younger brother to commit suicide by jumping off a building. This is already considered as harming the 2 families. And Voidless Realm has given strict orders to the 2 families to not have any casualties. Right now, my brother-in-law's younger brother died in vain. Are we just going to let it go like this? Tang Wushuang explained. Wang Debao, you're twisting words and forcing logic. I told him to jump off a building? Was I wrong to call him a playboy? Ask everyone, is this Bai Qi a playboy or not? Little girl, I saw that you were bullied by Bai Qi for a very long time tonight. Do you think that a man like him is a playboy or not? Tang Wushuang asked Dongfang Yuan. In actuality, everyone had eyes. And this Bai Qi was indeed this kind of person, and he treated this little girl extremely badly. How would Dongfang Yuan dare to comment on this matter? Upon seeing that, Tang Wushuang said, Look, the little girl is scared to the point that she doesn't dare to speak. That's why, what's wrong with me saying that he is a playboy? Did he break the law? Tang Wushuang's explanation seemed to be a bit reasonable. Both sides had their own opinions, and it was hard for the 2 family heads to make a judgment as well. After all, they were both participating in the election. Guan Tong said faintly, How about this? I will report this matter to the higher-ups and let Voidless Realm judge this matter. What do the 2 of you think? Bai Cixin and Tang Wushuang didn't have any objections. Zhu Tian pondered silently. In the end, this matter has reached the ears of the 2 madams. Right now, let's see how the 2 madams are going to judge this matter. According to the madam's personality, they will definitely judge this matter as innocent, and Bai Cixin will definitely not accept it. Then, What I have to do next is to think of a way to make the two madams give the wrong verdict. At this moment, all kinds of good ideas appeared in Ju Tian's mind. And I will definitely make things difficult for the two madams. Bai Cixing kept her ancient godly item. In her eyes, it was Tang Wushuang who killed her little brother, and she will definitely take revenge for this. The banquet finally ended. Although it wasn't as great as Yi family's banquet, it was still an eye-opener. This bespectacled man will definitely become famous. And the prerequisite is that he will be able to live past tonight. Ju Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan, who was all alone, and walked forward. Meanwhile, Guan Yinxin followed closely behind him. Right now Guan Yinxin was very obedient. However, Guan Yinxin wasn't disgusted by Ju Tian's behavior. Born in this family, if a man doesn't have a few wives, he will seem very low and weak. In any case, it's fine as long as I'm the first wife. Student Dongfang, Ju Tian shouted. Dongfang Yuan, turned her head around and took a look, then immediately turned her head around and walked forward. This caused Ju Tian to doubt his own appearance. In actuality, Dongfang Yuan didn't like to see Ju Tian and Guan Yinxin together, and thus, she didn't want to pay attention to them. However, Ju Tian didn't want to let Dongfang Yuan off. He pulled Dongfang Yuan over and asked, "Are you all right?" "Professor Ju, let go of me," Dongfang Yuan said sternly. However, that soft voice of hers didn't have a bit of persuasiveness at all. And there was even a hint of coquettishness to it. Ju Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan and said, "In actuality, this is also pretty good, don't you think so?" Chapter 357. Extending his hand to hold Dongfang Yuer's ice-cold little hand, Ju Tian faintly said, "Dongfang Yuer, teacher knows that your heart is not feeling well, but as a psychology and hypnosis professor, I will help you." Guan Yinxin, who was at the side, rolled her eyes. Only an innocent lady like Dongfang Yuer would believe your nonsense. Of course, there was also him. He was really excited tonight. Dongfang Yuan didn't speak, because she was in a very strange mood, excited and painful at the same time. The three of them sat in the Ferrari and left. Of course, Ju Tian was carrying Dongfang Yuan. She was petite in the first place, so when he carried her, she felt even more soft. Of course, absolute heaven wouldn't be courteous. He gently caressed her. "Don't move around recklessly. This is a psychological counseling technique." What a despicable method of swindling people. Even Yi Hua disdained to do such a thing. If she said that she didn't like Ju Tian, Dongfang Yuer would definitely not let him touch her. The incident that had just happened at the staircase was still vivid in her mind. Professor Ju was a good person. He had saved her and protected her. Such a favor must be repaid. After all, the professor was the second person in the world who had helped him. As far as he could remember, his parents had never been together. His mother rarely came home. Sometimes she would come home once a month, sometimes once a year. Even his father had lost his memory. This time, his mother had sold herself out. Towards absolute heaven's assistance, Dongfang Yuan was sincerely grateful. Hence, no matter what absolute heaven did, Dongfang Yuan would not resist. "Hey, are you guys okay?" Guan Yinxin was jealous. After all, she was the main wife. She had to be fair. Ju Tian slowly lifted Guan Yinxin's chin. "It'll be your turn soon." After arriving at Absolute Heaven's dormitory, Absolute Heaven had no intention of letting them off tonight. Just like what Lai Gu had said, only by letting them feel comfortable would I be able to obtain more information. For the sake of information, I, Absolute Heaven, throw caution to the wind. For Absolute Heaven, a small room with one bedroom and one living room was more than enough. Opening the fridge, Absolute Heaven took out a strange bottle of wine. This was not wine, but winged saliva. This wasn't a very powerful divine beast. It couldn't even reach the level of a spiritual beast. But it was extremely rare, because the saliva that dripped out had a mysterious fragrance. Absolute Heaven had once offered this kind of winged saliva to Yi Hua, but Yi Hua didn't think much of it. Just like how cats loved the smell of blood, Absolute Heaven was also a cat. However, the concentration of the winged saliva was close to that of alcohol. It was even very high, but it did not have the smell of alcohol. "Professor, could it be that he drugged it, Guan Yinxin said sweetly, her beautiful eyes sparkling. Even if it was drugged, he would still drink it. Dongfang Yuer's beautiful eyes were filled with determination. Anyway, she had to repay this debt of gratitude. Fortunately, it was tonight. Without waiting for Guan Yinxin to drink, Dongfang Yuan raised her head and drank. The taste is not bad. It tastes like Liha's calcium milk. Sour and sweet. Why are you even more impatient than me? Guan Yinxin also drank it. However, after waiting for a long time, he didn't faint or get drunk. Zhu Tian poured another cup for the two of them. If you have any troubles, just tell teacher. Teacher will be your strong support. This winged saliva could even destroy the weakest part of a person's heart, causing them to develop trust. For example, when Absolute Heaven used his strong backing to break through Dongfang Yuer's defenses, it caused her to cry. Don't keep it in your heart. Zhu Tian patted Dongfang Yuer's back and consoled her. To Dongfang Yuer, she had too many burdens on her shoulders. Her mother was not at home, and she could only follow her grandmother. But her grandmother told her many things, and before she died, she even told her, the Dongfang family was wrongly accused, and you must clear Dongfang family's name. Professor, my Dongfang family was wrongly accused. Dongfang Yuer could not hold it in anymore and shouted. Zhu Tian's lips curled up. As expected. Then who is the one who wrongly accused the Dongfang family? Zhu Tian continued to ask. The current 5 great families. Dongfang Yuer choked with sobs. She was so weak, and how could she win against those people? Zhu Tian was very excited to get this information. 100 years ago, the 5 great families wrongly accused Dongfang family, causing all the males in the family to be killed. If this matter was exposed, it would be a huge blow to Dongfang family's wife. Yinxin, don't you have anything to say? Zhu Tian asked curiously. Guan Yinxin smiled. I have seen too many of the scandals of the aristocratic families. I don't want to say anything, and I don't want to get involved. Indeed, you don't need to get involved, you just need to say it to yourself. Don't worry, teacher will help you. Zhu Tian said softly. His words were filled with incomparable confidence, causing Dongfang Yuer to believe him. Guan Yinxin also raised her hand and smiled. I will help you too. Zhu Tian was very puzzled. Guan Yinxin smiled and explained. Ever since father took over my grandfather's position, he changed. I don't want father to continue changing. If possible, I wish to live in a small family. Zhu Tian nodded his head. This kind of exchange is not excessive. Take it as your reward for helping me. Don't worry, I will help you realize your wishes. The 2 girls smiled faintly, but their smiles were filled with bitterness. Gradually, Dongfang Yuer and Guan Yinxin laid on the table drunk. Zhu Tian was a little irritated. He had chosen a despicable method to make them drunk. However, when he thought about what was going to happen, he felt as if something was stuck in his chest, causing him to want to vomit. Without a choice, Zhu Tian carried the 2 beauties onto the bed and took off their clothes. Looking at the flawless bodies in front of him, Zhu Tian didn't feel any temptation, and he only felt that the urge to vomit had lessened by quite a bit. Lai Gu, if your method doesn't work, I will report it to his honor and have his honor beat you up. Lai Gu expressed that it depended on the person, and if I lose, don't blame me for being weak. Zhu Tian turned over and pressed onto Dongfang Yuer's body, then silently closed his eyes. Just treat it as if I was bitten by a little puppy. Gritting his teeth, Zhu Tian deeply merged into Dongfang Yuer's body. In less than 2 minutes, Dongfang Yuer couldn't hold on anymore. Zhu Tian could only change his target, and Guan Yinxin couldn't hold on for more than 5 minutes. Zhu Tian felt that he should be done serving the 2 girls, and it's time to call it a day. So disgusting. They are all stained with some unknown liquid. Early in the morning, the magpies played a joyous symphony, seemingly celebrating the 2 girls becoming women. Although the experience was only a few short minutes, at the very least, the 2 girls had successfully transformed. After Zhu Tian finished serving the 2 girls last night, he slept on the sofa, because he was afraid of vomiting. At this moment, the 2 girls woke up faintly, and they immediately felt a certain part of their body aching. When they opened up the blanket to take a look, what an obvious bloodstain. And furthermore, there are two of them. Guan Yinxin and Dongfang Yu didn't become excited. It was as if they already knew what would happen. However, when they saw that Zhu Tian actually slept on the sofa and didn't sleep on the bed with them, they felt a bit strange in their hearts. Chapter 358. Absolute Heaven was very depressed. It was clearly you guys who were shouting that you couldn't do it anymore. Yet now, you are still thinking of doing it yourself. How could this be? Professor Zhu, Teacher Zhu, come quickly. I don't even know what it feels like. Guan Yinxin was indignant. This was the most important moment in her life, and it was gone just like that. She didn't even get to taste the sweetness. Vexation could be seen between Zhu Tian's brows. However, he was also worried that Guan Yinxin would not listen to his words. According to what Lai Gu said, I have to *CK her until she is completely obedient. Thinking up to this point, Absolute Heaven felt slightly nauseous. Fortunately, he had not eaten anything yet. Zhu Tian stood up. Guan Yinxin's beautiful eyes lit up. Professor Zhu's strength was very strong. Dongfang Yuan, who was at the side, turned her head. She had already repaid him, and it could be said that she had fulfilled one of her wishes. Enduring the slight pain, Dongfang Yu stood up. However, she was pressed back onto the bed by Absolute Heaven, who had walked over. Standing by the side, Guan Yinxin gulped down a mouthful of saliva. She did not know why, but when she saw Zhu Tian pressing down on Dongfang Yu, she felt an indescribable sense of stimulation and excitement. Yu, where are you planning to go? Zhu Tian asked coldly. Dongfang Yuan didn't dare to look at Zhu Tian's eyes and weakly said, I'm going to class. Today, I'll give you a good lesson. You're not allowed to go anywhere, Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Today, he would make the two of them obedient. As he spoke, he cupped his fists. Dongfang Yuan's charming face was filled with shock. She felt as though her body was about to break apart. Her slender palm pressed on Zhu Tian's chest. Very soon, Dongfang Yuan let out an alluring moan. 2 minutes later, Zhu Tian, I can't take it anymore. Dongfang Yuan's stamina was unable to keep up with the tempo. Absolute Heaven was too ferocious, and Dongfang Yuan's delicate body was simply unable to endure Absolute Heaven's torment. Zhu Tian asked coldly, will you be obedient in the future? I'll listen to you. Dongfang Yuan felt like she was about to faint. Hearing Dongfang Yuan's reply, Absolute Heaven felt relieved. Guan Yinxin, who was at the side, couldn't wait any longer. It was too exciting. Zhu Tian, come and get me, 10 minutes later. I don't want it anymore. I surrender. Under Absolute Heaven's indiscriminate bombardment, Guan Yinxin persisted for 10 minutes before finally fainting. However, Absolute Heaven did not feel anything at all. Standing up, he glanced at the two people on the bed before disappearing from the room. Because I have important information to report to His Honor. Today, Yihua woke up very early, and Qing Yutong also changed a little today. Qing Yutong actually woke up very early to prepare breakfast for her brother-in-law. Did Yihua still not know what Qing Yutong meant? She wanted him to let her sister off lightly? How could that be possible? Brother-in-law, is this porridge hot? Yutong will help you blow it. Brother-in-law, is the temperature of this milk okay? Do you need Yutong to help you heat it up? It's still human body heating, so that you can understand it. Yihua, who was looking at Conan, turned his head around and asked, Yutong, are you that free? It's everyone's responsibility to serve their brother-in-law, then give birth to brother-in-law's children. Brother-in-law, you are so hateful, always thinking of doing bad things. Qing Yutong said while pinching her orchid-shaped fingers. Yihua said faintly, then scram. Bad brother-in-law, it has already been one night. Your anger should have more or less dissipated by now, right? Let's go and fetch big sister back together. Qing Yutong had done so much foreshadowing. Wasn't it all for the sake of them reconciling? Yihua drank a mouthful of warm milk. Not going. Brother-in-law, could it be that you don't miss Ali? Ali should also practice living independently. What's wrong with brother-in-law? In the past, when big sister gets angry, although he would also look angry on the surface, in his heart, he would always think of how to coax her. Look at this time. He completely doesn't have the intention of coaxing her at all. It has already been one day. Are they playing for real? Brother-in-law, Qing Yutong once again walked forward coquettishly and hugged onto Yihua's arm. Scram! All right. Looking at his sister-in-law leaving, Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. These two ignorant women, I gave them an entire night's time, and yet they still haven't returned. From the looks of it, they are determined to go against me. Not bad. Your guts have grown big. To dare to unscrupulously anger me just because you think that you are the woman that I love dearly. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Zhu Tian's figure suddenly appeared beside Yihua, then knelt down on one knee and paid respect to Yihua. Get up, is there any progress? Yihua drank another mouthful of milk. Sister-in-law's milk is not bad. It has quite a nice texture. Zhu Tian stood up and said respectfully, after subordinates sacrificed my physical body, I received a huge reward. Pooh. Hearing Zhu Tian's report, Yihua spurted out the milk. Sacrificed your physical body, received a reward? Tell me, how did you sacrifice your physical body? Zhu Tian did not feel embarrassed at all. He told Yihua about the entire process, and he even sold out Lai Gu. It was clear that Zhu Tian wanted Lai Gu to be the scapegoat. However, after Yihua heard what Zhu Tian said, he was thinking about another question. Could it be that I didn't *CK them until they were completely submissive? Thinking about it, Donghuang Baiji made a move on me 3 years ago, while Qingye made a move on me only a few months ago. After tasting that wonderful feeling, they definitely wanted me to pamper them again. But in the end, I actually didn't do it. Thus they became angry. This theory of Lai Gu's is not bad. He grasped the main point. It is precisely because they are too energetic, and also because they have a grudge against me. That's why they came up with this plan. But even so, do you think that I am that kind of person? You two can do whatever you want. It is your honor for me to pamper you two. To actually quarrel with me over this kind of thing, after I teach you two a lesson, I will make you two unable to get off the bed. Let's see if you two still have the energy to quarrel with me. Oh right. How do you plan to deal with those two women? Yihua asked curiously. Could it be that this iron tree has blossomed? To actually force them to drink wine. I have never been so shameless before. Zhu Tian slightly lowered his head to show respect, then said, after this, I will fulfill their wishes. After that, Yihua continued asking. Zhu Tian wrinkled his brows. That's all. Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, Zhu Tian, I will have to criticize you for this. Zhu Tian's expression tensed up, then immediately knelt down in front of Yihua, accepting the Supreme Overlord's criticism. Subordinate knows his mistake, Your Honor. Please forgive me. Wait for me to finish speaking first. Yes. Zhu Tian continued to lean over and listen to Zhu Tian's words. Yihua didn't have any intention to wake Zhu Tian up and said faintly, men should be responsible for what they should be responsible for. Although what you did can be considered as a play, you took away the other party's first blood, and furthermore, the first blood was taken away by you while you were deceiving them. It can be seen just how sad they will be when the time comes. But Your Honor, Zhu Tian really doesn't like women, he isn't targeting them. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained. Yihua's expression turned cold. Did I allow you to speak? Your Honor, please forgive me. Chapter 359. Zhu Tian. Your Honor, if you were honest, your wife wouldn't have left home. Just thinking about it was enough. Saying it out loud was a crime punishable by death. Thank you for your guidance, Your Honor. Get up. Thank you, Your Honor. Yihua flicked away that half a stick of cigarette ash and continued. In this aspect, you have to learn from Lai Gu and Wei Chang. Since you have already slept with them, in the future, I will stay by your side and properly serve you. I will be at ease. Just a moment ago, Absolute Heaven was still regretting. He regretted that he had impulsively taken those two women yesterday night, and he was even prepared to go and fight with Lai Gu. However, after hearing what his honor had said just now, Zhu Tian was so moved that he prostrated himself in admiration. So it turns out that his honor cares so much about me, and because his honor was afraid that I wouldn't have anyone to serve me, His Honor found a woman for me. The sun and moon can bear witness to His Honor's intentions. I, Ju Tian, am terrified. Ju Tian could be seen bowing respectfully to Yi Zichen, then saying gravely, "Thank you, Your Honor, for showing concern to your subordinate. Ju Tian, you two have followed me through fire and water for so many years. It is time for you two to enjoy life. The gentleness of human women is indeed pleasurable, but sometimes, I really want to beat them to death." Originally he was quite happy about it. However, when he thought of Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's actions yesterday, he became angry. Ju Tian said in a low voice, "The wife chosen by His Honor is definitely a phoenix among men. It is normal for her to have a bit of a temper. Alright, stop putting in good words for them. Is there any progress? Reporting to Your Honor, it is a breakthrough." Yi Hua's eyes lit up. "The sooner I can slap their faces, the better it will be. After all, the earlier they will be able to come back to me, the earlier I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to be living by myself, empty, lonely and cold. Tell me." "Yes." Following which, Absolute Heaven recounted everything that had happened last night, as well as some of his own thoughts. After hearing that, Yi Hua took a deep breath. Well done. Hearing His Honor's praise, Ju Tian felt that he had succeeded in selling himself. "I hope Your Honor can give me some pointers." Ju Tian was still very smart. "All of the credit belongs to His Honor, and I was only following His Honor's instructions." Yi Hua was also very satisfied with Ju Tian's attitude. "Ju Tian, what you mean is that we should spread the news about the longevity fruit to the north, thereby arousing the greed of the people in the north. And from there, we will be putting pressure on Voidless Realm." "That's right." Yi Hua laughed lightly, and a trace of coldness could be seen in his gaze. "Have you forgotten about their status in the south?" Absolute Heaven frowned. "Right now, the powers in the south are treating the two of them as female deities. If the news about the longevity fruit had started from the south, I reckon that these people wouldn't be calling them female deities, and instead, they would be shouting that everyone is equal." After finished speaking, Yi Hua laughed lightly. "The person you saved back then came back to cheat you. That must feel pretty good, right? In the end, you will understand a principle. Only I treat you the best in this world. Your Honor is wise, subordinate is truly too slow-witted." Ju Tian praised. Yi Hua said faintly, "If the distribution of the longevity fruit is not handled properly, Voidless Realm, hee. Yi Hua had seen too many treasure-snatching battles. Regardless of whether it was an ally, a boss, or a brother, whoever that was in the way would be killed. Not to mention something that could extend one's lifespan. Luckily, Donghuang Baiji didn't tell me about this. If not, she would definitely suspect that I was the one who leaked this information. Not bad. But when I think about it, isn't he a little too distrustful of me? It's such a big matter, yet he didn't even tell me about it. In the future, I will definitely not spank you. Instead, I will make you beg for mercy. However, I will not forgive you." Upon thinking about how Qingye and Donghuang Baiji would be begging for mercy, Yi Hua couldn't help but feel pleased. Yi Hua continued, "We must definitely find evidence to prove the injustice done to Dongfang family. We must do whatever it takes, but we must not be found out. I am really curious how they will judge this case. Also, think of a way to make those families fight against each other." Ju Tian said solemnly, "Your Honor, do you want subordinate to make some arrangements for Xiao family?" "You can make arrangements, don't let them be too idle." "Yes." After finished talking with Yi Hua, Ju Tian returned to the dormitory. Looking at the two young girls who were lying on the bed, Ju Tian felt that he should rest for a bit first, and think about how to set up a trap for Xiao Yi. As for spreading the news in the south, His Honor will make the arrangements. Yi Hua, who was sitting on the sofa, contacted Wei Chang. Right now, Wei Chang was currently waiting for Tang Wei in the university, and Wei Chang was currently holding onto a bouquet of flowers. This old man still knows how to be romantic. However, upon hearing His Honor's message, Wei Chang immediately disappeared from the campus. Coincidentally, Tang Wei rushed over at this moment and discovered that Uncle Wei wasn't around at all. To think that Uncle Wei said that he was going to give me a surprise. "Your Honor, go and having family know," Send someone to spread a piece of news. Make sure that those families are the first to know about it. Wei Chong didn't like to ask too many questions. I only need to do as His Honor says. Yes. Yi Hua let out a breath. Right now the chess pieces are already in place. Little Qingye and Baiji, how can the two of you be my opponent? Hurry up and come back and apologize to me. After that, promise me what you did to me unconditionally. Perhaps, I will let bygones be bygones. When Wei Chong returned to the university, he looked around. Why isn't Xiao Tang here yet? Right now, at Voidless Realm, Donghuang Baiji had just finished holding a court meeting. After returning to Donghuang Li's courtyard, Qingye and Ali were temporarily staying together. Qingye was currently playing with Donghuang Li, and seeing that her mother had returned, Donghuang Li pounced onto her mother's embrace excitedly. Mommy, are we going back now? Ali didn't even kiss Daddy this morning. Donghuang Baiji laughed tenderly. Ali, Daddy has been very busy recently. Didn't you see that Aunt Qingye and I have returned? Ali isn't a child anymore. You two just made Daddy angry. After saying that, Ali pouted her little mouth and put on a look of you two are bad guys. The two women had a helpless look on their faces. This Ali is too biased, she is always on her father's side. Donghuang Baiji could only coax her daughter. Ali, be good. Play in Voidless Realm for a few days. After that, Mommy will bring you back to look for Daddy. Really? Donghuang Li asked while blinking her big eyes. And really? True, that's great. Don't look at how little Donghuang Li is. In actuality, she knows a lot of things. Taking advantage of the fact that she is a child, Donghuang Baiji made use of the fact that her daddy and mommy will not continue to quarrel with each other. After letting the maid bring her daughter to play, Donghuang Baiji sat at the opposite of Qingye and let out a sigh. Soon after, Donghuang Baiji poured a cup of tea. What's the matter? Why are you frowning? Qingye asked curiously. This Voidless Realm is a good place. It would be great if Yi Hua could come over and stay here for a long time. During the court meeting today, Yu Chuan reported a matter. Just last night, Bai family's young master was insulted by Tang family's family head, and in the end, Bai family's family head committed suicide by jumping off a building. Bai family's Bai Cixin requested for Bai family's family head to give him an explanation. However, since both families are candidates for the position of Bai family's family head, Bai family's family head cannot act recklessly. Donghuang Baiji felt a headache. I told them not to fight, and now someone even died. Chapter 360. Tang Wushuang also didn't instigate Bai Qi to jump off the building. Hearing Donghuang Baiji's words, Qingye asked confusedly, Baiji, do you think that Yi Hua is adding fuel to the fire? After I heard it, I also thought the same way. Therefore, I asked about the situation at that time in detail. There wasn't anything abnormal. Tang Wushuang and Bai Qi had a physical conflict and started to scold each other. In the end, it became a tragedy. Qingye silently nodded her head. If this was really done by Yi Hua, how could there be so many details? That clumsy fool only knows how to touch all day long. However, Bai Qi suddenly jumped off the building for no reason, so the two women were a little suspicious. It had to be said that Absolute Heaven had handled the details very well, making it so that others would not be able to see the truth of the matter, making it seem as if it was real. Qingye asked, what do you plan to do? After all, you ordered them not to make a move. Now that someone has died, it seems to go against your words. This was what Donghuang Baiji was puzzled about. If I don't pursue this matter, wouldn't I be slapping my own face? If he were to pursue the matter, what reason would he use to pursue it? Just because you scolded someone, that person's heart became weak and couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide. Yet, you want to pay with your life? This is too absurd. I have never encountered such a thing before. Qingye, what do you think I should do? Right now, Donghuang Baiji really wanted to sleep on the bed and be hugged by Yi Hua. Now, he had only been out for a day, and something very troublesome had already happened. It was hard for Qingye to say who was at fault, but she did put forward an interesting point of view. Baiji, if this matter was arranged by Yi Hua, what is his intention? Qingye said with a smile. Donghuang Baiji took a sip of tea. Those moist lips were Yi Hua's favorite. If Yi Hua is really the mastermind behind all of this, then his goal should be right now. The two women looked at each other and smiled. With Yi Hua's personality, it is indeed possible. However, in the end, it is just a hypothesis, and there is no evidence to prove it. Right now, Qingye also missed Yi Hua. If Yi Hua was here, he would definitely have a lot of crooked reasoning. Although his reasoning was a bit crooked, it seemed to be effective. Could it be that she had wronged him? But you can't yell at me like that. No matter what, I'm your wife. What's wrong with saying a few nice words? Women don't need to be coaxed. On the contrary, Yi Hua never knows how to coax a woman. The two women discussed for a long time, and finally came to a conclusion. Tang Wushuang gave a warning and consoled by family, by giving them a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal dew as an excuse. Very quickly, the two families received the same result. Tang Wushuang was very unhappy with the warning punishment. What does that brat jumping off the building have anything to do with me? To actually give me a warning punishment, will I be punished or not? Wenbai Cixin, who was wearing a white cloth on her head, received Voidless Realm's result, and a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal nectar. There was not a single ripple on her face. She twisted open the bottle cap, and sprinkled the bejeweled jade immortal dew in front of her little brother's memorial tablet. Clearly, she was not satisfied with this punishment, and even more so, she was dissatisfied with Voidless Realm. The murderer was actually only given a warning. Meanwhile, Yi Hua also stopped his wife's punishment and sneered. You are truly soft-hearted. The more benevolent you are, the more others will think that you are easy to bully. As a big power, Voidless Realm had to display their iron-blooded side. You have too much to learn. However, this kind of punishment was within Yi Hua's expectations. It isn't your fault to be kind, the fault is to be kind to bad people. At this moment, Absolute Heaven was in the middle of a lecture, and he was being assaulted by the gazes of the female fans. However, he still had to retain his identity as a university professor. On the way back to the dormitory, Yi Hua bought some food. After all, there were still two women upstairs. Originally, Yi Hua wanted to let the two women fend for themselves after the mission ended, but since his honor had already spoken, he decided to let the two women stay by his side and serve him. However, looking at the lunchbox that was in his hand, Absolute Heaven felt that it wasn't the two women who were serving him. Absolute Heaven still didn't understand what his honor meant. The serving that Yi Hua said was not the serving that Absolute Heaven was thinking of. As a boss, Yi Hua naturally had to share his happiness with his subordinates. However, Absolute Heaven, who was like a cat, didn't feel the slightest bit of happiness, and instead, he felt that his chest was stuffy. Opening the door of the dormitory, Yi Hua saw the two women wearing his shirt and sitting at the table eating instant noodles. A young lady wearing a man's shirt has a different flavor, especially when there is nothing inside the shirt. If it was Lai Gu who was here, there was no need to say anything. Lai Gu would definitely speak with his strength. However, Absolute Heaven shifted his gaze away after taking a glance at the two women. I bought some rice for you too. Absolute Heaven placed the casserole rice on the table and said faintly. Guan Yinxin took a glance, then teased. Professor Absolute Heaven, you made our little sister Yue suffer so much that she wants to die. And you want to send her away just like that? Dongfang Yuer's face immediately turned red. How could that be? Professor, don't listen to her nonsense. Then do it again with Professor Ju. No. Dongfang Yuan rejected as expected. However, Absolute Heaven was unhappy. I'm letting you enjoy yourself, yet you don't want it? This was intolerable. I'll directly carry Dongfang Yuan onto my thighs then. I'll fill up my brain. Guan Yinxin was stunned. This kind of life was perverted, especially when she saw you were in pain and happiness. It was even more exciting. Slowly standing up, Guan Yinxin actually gave Dongfang Yuan a wet kiss. This caused Dongfang Yuan to widen her beautiful eyes in disbelief. At the back was Zhu Tian, and at the front was Guan Yinxin. With Guan Yinxin's help, Dongfang Yuan soon fainted, and 10 minutes later, Guan Yinxin also fainted. However, Absolute Heaven did not feel anything. He only believed that he had completed his mission and obtained their loyalty. Of course, there was also a trace of refreshment, as if this trace of refreshment appeared in their normal and dizzy state. So, it turns out that even without using force, it is still possible to make a woman beg for forgiveness. What Lai Gu said is still correct. Zhu Tian wore his clothes and stood up, then said faintly, "After watching this action movie for so long, aren't you going to give it a 5-star review?" The corner of the bedroom gradually twisted, and 3 masked men actually appeared. When Zhu Tian entered the bedroom, he noticed that there were people that came in, and they were looking for him. Just that, I didn't expect that they would actually be able to watch the show for so long. Looking at their crotch, the tent isn't big. They might have been shocked by my strength, and they don't have the confidence to kill me anymore. Today, we are here to send you to hell. The man that was leading the group shouted out coldly, and released quite a bit of spiritual energy. Zhu Tian said faintly, "You should be Yanxin's big brother, right? I took a look at you yesterday." The man paused for a moment, and the spiritual energy on his body became a bit chaotic. Soon after he shouted out, "Go and die." Zhu Tian sneered, then immediately tore off the man's mask. Zhu Tian, who was in front of Guanli, did not move at all, but his mask was gone, and Guanli immediately covered his face with his hands. "What? You have the face to look at me, but don't have the face to admit it?" Zhu Tian said calmly, "Nonsense. Am I Guanli that kind of person?" Guanli's face and ears became red. Originally, he was here to kill this professor according to his father's wish. When he came over, he didn't discover that there was no one around, and on the contrary, he saw his little sister and another girl. However, when he saw his little sister who was wearing a shirt, and Guanli actually didn't show his face, Guanli felt very excited. Chapter 361. Especially when he saw his younger sister taking advantage of that girl. His breathing actually became hurried, and he almost revealed himself. It was too exciting. Absolute Heaven spread out his hands and said, "Actually, I don't mind you peeking." Guanli was shocked. "Actually, what I care about is that you entered my house without my permission. You didn't even take off your shoes." Absolute Heaven's gaze emitted a sinister chilliness. His pupils actually changed to that of a feline. Cats were very fond of cleanliness. The 3 men were shocked by the scene in front of them, and took a step back reflexively. Suddenly they felt something grab their feet. He lowered his head to look. Countless ghostly hands appeared on the floor, as if they were trying to break free from the shackles. However, these ghostly hands grabbed their legs and dragged them down with all their might. Guanli's body seemed to have sunk into a swamp, gradually sinking. No matter how the 3 men struggled, it was useless. "Brother-in-law, let's talk this out." Guanli didn't think too much about it, and hurriedly begged for mercy. This man's strength had been wrong. I'm listening." Guanli was speechless. "I'm not asking you to listen to me. I'm asking you to let me go. Brother-in-law, let me go. I won't peek next time." Guanli's eyes were filled with terror. Both of his feet had already sunk in, and even that disgusting ghostly hand was touching his chin. What was even more frightening was that he could still feel his feet. Someone was tearing his pants. He even took off all his clothes. Furthermore, Guanli screamed in pain, and so did the 2 men behind him. On the bed, Guan Yinxin pursed her lips, turned over and hugged Dongfang Yuer. The scene was extremely alluring. Guanli endured the pain and shouted, "I'm Yin Xian's brother. If you kill me, she will hate you for the rest of her life." "She won't know." Guanli was speechless. "I feel so powerless talking to this man. Yin Xian, quick, save brother, this is a demon." Guanli shouted at Guan Yinxin. Sitting at the bedside, Absolute Heaven said indifferently, "You saw it for yourself just now. I beat them down." "You? Don't worry, I will treat your sister well." Guanli stared at Absolute Heaven with a dumbfounded expression. "Are you sure you want to say such words at a time like this? Isn't it inappropriate?" "I curse you, woo." The 3 heads gradually disappeared, and the floor returned to normal. "Hey Mr. Zhu, it's so noisy. Who's shouting?" Guan Yinxin whined. "Unimportant person, since you're awake, let's begin." "Ah, no. From what Lai Gu said, When a woman said no, it meant that she wanted it. Absolute heaven once again became enraged, causing Guan Yinxin to lose the strength to even move her fingers. On the other hand, Dongfang Yuaner was much smarter. Even though she was awake, she was still pretending to be unconscious. However, who was absolute heaven? Did he think that he would be fine just because he fainted? Dongfang Yuer's pleas for mercy rang out in the room. Could this be considered as just escaping from the wolf's mouth and entering the tiger's den? Of course, the former was resisting, while the latter was willing. Unlike Li Gu's reaction was instinctive, and he also enjoyed it. Absolute heaven was not enjoying the process. Rather, he was enjoying the instant of pleasure. He had to admit that the 7 deadly sins all had their own unique tastes. In actuality, Yi Zizi's taste was a bit heavy as well, just that she didn't show it. At night, Absolute Heaven planned to pay a visit to his father-in-law and create an alibi. This brother of his still has some value. Although your wives are kind, it doesn't mean that they are stupid. Guan Yinxin was driving the Ferrari, while Absolute Heaven was carrying the frail Dongfang Yuan, and sitting on the front passenger seat. Dongfang Yuaner was wearing a dress, and right now, her dress had already reached her waist. Guan Yinxin, who was driving, would tease Dongfang Yuaner from time to time. I feel that I have already fallen in love with this kind of life. Just what kind of life did I live in the past? Thinking about it, it feels so dull and boring. Guan family was situated in the mountainous area outside of Zijin City. It was an old residence. Right now, the interior of the residence was brightly lit, and it seemed like something was being held. Guan Yinxin stopped the car and got off the car to take a look, then muttered, "Today is actually the gathering of the aristocratic families at the end of the month. Do the aristocratic families even gather for a gathering?" Absolute Heaven supported Dongfang Yuan, who was standing unsteadily, and asked curiously. Guan Yinxin nodded her head. This is a rule that has been passed down from generation to generation. Perhaps, it is because the aristocratic families wish to interact more with each other, and not become unfamiliar with each other. However, Voidless Realm might not have thought that not only did this kind of gathering not achieve the desired effect, the things that they did were also disgusting. Guan Yinxin added. The corner of Absolute Heaven's mouth curved up slightly. Information came again. There are some things that I can't ask too much about. It would only be reasonable for Guan Yinxin to say it herself. What disgusting things? Absolute Heaven pulled Guan Yinxin to his side and caressed her body with his palm. If not for the fact that she was wearing a dress, his palm would have already entered her body. Being caressed by Absolute Heaven, Guan Yinxin immediately felt weak. Fortunately, there were not many people at the place where the car was parked. However, she felt that it was very exciting. There are too many of them. I usually don't participate in this kind of gathering. Guan Yinxin only felt excited when she was with Absolute Heaven. Chapter 362. Miss! 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 The guards at the door shouted respectfully. However, they felt that it was a little strange. Why was the young miss carrying a blushing and weak beauty in her arms? And looking at the young miss, she seemed to be very evil. The man next to her was full of righteousness, and was a gentleman. Guan Yinxin supported Dongfang Yuer and nodded to the guards, then walked in. He didn't forget to take advantage of Dongfang Yuer. As the daughter of an aristocratic family, she naturally had some strength, but Dongfang Yuer didn't, and could only be manipulated by him. How pitiful! Zhu Tian, on the other hand, did not wish to meddle in their private matters. He looked around for a moment, preparing his plan. Now he had a good idea. Dongfang Yuer was originally from the Dongfang family, and if she could obtain an ancient godly item, she would definitely be able to participate in the selection. However, I will also be suspected by your madam. Regarding this matter, I still need to discuss it with his honor. I cannot act on my own accord. Yin Xian, don't bully Yuer anymore. Zhu Tian glanced at Yin Xian, a hint of helplessness in his tone. He saw Guan Yinxin pressing Dongfang Yuer against the wall. She was currently enjoying Dongfang Yuer's cherry lips, without the slightest bit of restraint. Who knows where her pair of delicate hands were touching? The pitiful Dongfang Yue was passively enjoying all of this, and she felt as if her soul had gone astray. Hearing Zhu Tian's words, Guan Yanxin stopped her frivolous actions. However, when she saw Dongfang Yue's delicate and pitiful appearance, she wanted to bully her again. Zhu Tian protected Dongfang Yue in his embrace. "All right, stop bullying Yue. Professor Zhu spoke up for you," Guan Yanxin said with a beaming smile. The latter buried her head deep into Zhu Tian's bosom. "This isn't an ordinary tiger's den. I'm really worried that my body will be torn apart by them." Hugging Dongfang Yue, Zhu Tian asked, "Yue, are you happy?" Dongfang Yue's face couldn't help but turn red, and she couldn't help but recall the matters of the past 2 days. She felt that it was too sudden, as if her life had changed in an instant. But was he happy? It seemed to be a little like being cared for like this. "Professor Zhu, in that case, can I make a request?" Dongfang Yue said weakly. Just this tone alone was enough to show that he wanted to bully her. Zhu Tian nodded his head. "Go ahead." Dongfang Yue said in a low voice. My body is weak. Can I not do it every day?" According to Lai Gu's experience, when a woman says this, it means that she is not satisfied. A satisfied woman would wish that you are like this every single day. No. Zhu Tian felt that Dongfang Yue was the one who was dissatisfied with him. This is something that concerns the success rate of his honor's mission, and I cannot be sloppy about this. It seems that I will have to take special care of Dongfang Yue. Dongfang Yue was in despair. However, this expression of despair gave Zhu Tianming the urge to bully her. This woman was just asking for it. I will help you wash away your family's injustice, and let you become the family head of the aristocratic family. That was what Zhu Tian planned. However, this wasn't the life that Dongfang Yue wanted. "Zhu Tian, thank you for what you've done for me. However, I don't want to be some family head." "Then, what do you want?" Zhu Tian asked. "A stable life." Dongfang Yue's wish was very ordinary. She wanted to study hard, find a stable job, find a man she liked, and live a simple life. However, she was sold off by her mother. However, she met Zhu Tian, and was destined to not be an ordinary person in this life. Zhu Tian said indifferently, You will have this kind of life." Dongfang Yue's heart trembled, then immediately after, her heart was filled with sweetness. In actuality, being bullied by Zhu Tian like this was something that she was willing to do. After all, Zhu Tian was her benefactor, the second person that was good to her, and this was enough for her. On the other hand, Zhu Tian's words of love that aren't easily spoken can be given full marks. If Zhu Tian had this kind of ability, wouldn't Qingye and Baiji become obedient rabbits? Unfortunately, Yihua wanted to save face. Using Yihua's words, "I will not say those mushy words of love." If not for the fact that they deeply loved Yihua, Qingye and Baiji would definitely not be able to endure Yihua's temper. Very soon, the three arrived outside of the banquet hall. After the guards went to inform the guards, the three walked into the banquet hall. The banquet hall could be seen to be very grand. All of the utensils on the table were spirit artifacts, and even the red carpet on the floor was spirit artifacts. Therefore, the items that were sold in the auction that day were all things that Yi family did not want. However, for ordinary families, those items could be stored away like treasures. Guantong sat on the main seat. After all, this banquet was held by Guan family this month. Yi Xiao, Jiang Yuanzhou, Chu He, and an unfamiliar middle-aged woman. This woman's appearance was not beautiful but strange, because the left side of her face was not symmetrical with the right side of her face. If this kind of face were to appear at night, it would definitely scare people to death. This woman was the family head of Duan family. Her name was Duan Ho, and her name was just like her name. She did not have the ability to become pregnant, and thus she did not have any children. Of course, this was because she was harmed by someone, which was why she changed her name to Duan Ho. Her temperament was also strange, and she liked to torture men, especially handsome men. From the looks of it, this Duan Ho is also a woman with a story. And when this Duan Ho saw Zhu Tian, interest appeared in her big and small eyes. "Father!" Guan Yanxin shouted out tenderly. She did not feel that she had lost face at all. Ju Tian was her sky, a man that could make her feel as if she was in heaven. Ju Tian was very formidable. He merely nodded his head towards Guantong. Most importantly, he was hugging another woman. Jiang family knew about the inside story, while the other three families only heard about what happened last night. Chu He laughed heartily. Congratulations to family head Guan for obtaining such a handsome son-in-law. There was obviously a belittling intention in his words. Handsome son-in-law. Isn't that the same as saying that he is a gigolo? Isn't that a person from Bai family? Jiang Yuanzhou asked curiously. Guan Yinxin smiled and added, little sister Yuer had escaped from Bai family's control and regained her freedom. She was fancied by her husband. For an aristocratic family, this was not a big deal. It was just taking in a concubine. Guantong appeared to be very angry, his chubby face was trembling, and his double chin looked extremely disgusting. The person behind Chu He was naturally Chu Bo, a man who couldn't find his big brother. And he was currently sizing up Dongfang Yuer. During the auction that day, this girl was also present. Looking at her trembling appearance, he really wanted to bully her. It wasn't only Chu Bo who thought so. Everyone thought so as well. That delicate appearance of hers could indeed cause others to feel pity for her. But that was only for ordinary people. To them, there was also a hint of bullying within the pity. It would definitely be very fun to bully such a girl. Indeed, even Ju Tian felt secretly happy, especially when Dongfang Yuer was begging for mercy in a low voice. That helpless expression, that expression of her biting her lips, the value was so great that it could explode the heavens. Guantong thought that his son had already succeeded, but in the end, not only did he not die, he even came here. If it wasn't for the fact that there were so many people here, he would have directly killed him. Chapter 363. Because the family head did not let his daughter sit behind him. Guan Yinxin, on the other hand, didn't mind. She was already tired of this kind of life. Her life with Ju Tian was filled with excitement and temptation, and she liked it even more when Ju Tian conquered her. Sitting at the back, Ju Tian and Guan Yinxin did not continue to bully Dongfang Yuaner. After all, there were many people around. Guan Yinxin showed her concern. She knew that Dongfang Yuaner was very weak, and she probably didn't even have the strength to raise her hand right now. Guan Yinxin personally peeled fruits for Dongfang Yuaner to eat to replenish her strength. Dongfang Yuaner was very grateful. She had been bullied by Ju Tian 4 to 5 times today, and she had no energy left. What is my big brother secretly talking about? Guan Yinxin saw her big brother, Guan Li, walking towards her father and whispering, causing her father's face to darken. Ju Tian silently drank a mouthful of tea. This alibi should work. Next, it will depend on Bai family's reaction. Whether or not something happens tonight will depend on how much Bai Cixin dotes on her little brother. Right now, a funeral was being held in Bai family's castle, and various family heads sent their sincere condolences. Among them, there was even a youngster who was looking around. This youngster was Do Fusher, who had not appeared for a long time. Ju Tian needed an unfamiliar face to go to Bai family to say a few words. However, in the group, the madams seemed to have never seen Do Fusher before. Today, Do Fusher received the black gown big brother's order, and immediately went to Zijin City. According to the order, he killed the Tang family's little brother, who came to mourn, and then came himself. The current Do Fusher was no longer the youngster, who only knew how to catch ghosts. Even big shots had to submit to him, let alone a small family. This kind of mission was not difficult at all, and the black gown big brother even told him to be careful. A guest has arrived. Do Fusher opened the flower wreath in his hand and shouted out gravely, Northern Tang family has sent their blessings, Pa. They have sent their condolences. Bai Cixin, who was wearing a white muslin dress, slowly raised her head and looked at Do Fusher with killing intent in her beautiful eyes. Wang Debao also stared at Do Fusher. This Tang family came to send their condolences. It was obviously a deep irony. Do Fusher swallowed his saliva. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. I'll just follow my lines. Cough. Patriarch Bai, you don't have to be sad. Patriarch Bai said that it's a good thing to have one less tumor in society. lest more tragedies happen in the future. Clan Head also said that he is very sorry for Bai Chi's death. He hopes that Clan Head Bai can restrain his grief and give birth to a son soon. He hopes that your child will not become like this and jump off a building to commit suicide. After saying that, Do Fusher heaved a sigh of relief. Today's mission could be considered completed. However, this woman was crying as she looked at him. Could it be that she had been moved by his charm? Sigh, the head of the Bai family was too frivolous. But if he really wanted to flirt with me, I would just symbolically resist for a while, and then accept my fate. A cold and gloomy wind suddenly blew in the morning hall. Do Fusher looked at the black tower in Bai Cixin's hand. However, a ball of ferocious black fog attacked him, and then his consciousness blurred. Didn't you say there was no threat? How could this be? I was fooled by Big Brother Black Robe. No wonder sister-in-law told him to be careful before he left. It seemed that sister-in-law still loved me and knew that things were dangerous. Bai Cixin openly used an ancient godly item to kill someone in her little brother's morning hall, causing everyone in the surroundings to be stupefied. I feel that something big is going to happen tonight. Bai Cixin slowly stood up and shouted out gravely. Tang family is going too far. My Bai family and Tang family are irreconcilable enemies. Ordinary families wouldn't dare to get involved in a fight like this, as they were afraid of getting implicated. After all, Bai Cixin was currently disregarding Voidless Realm's order. Wang Debao was not a coward, and thus, he naturally supported his wife. Xiao Yi, do you dare to follow me to Tang family? Xiao Yi, who was sitting at the side, pondered. If Tang Wushuang were to become the head of a family, his days would definitely not be good. I am going to exterminate Tang family tonight. Bai Cixin will also receive Voidless Realm's punishment, and I won't be able to escape as well. However, at the very least, my crime will be lighter, and I will be able to get rid of any future threats. This is a pretty good choice. Furthermore, with two ancient godly items, why would I be afraid of a small Tang family? Let's go. Xiao Yi chose to exterminate Tang family to get rid of any future troubles. Bai Cixin said to the family heads present. After tonight, you all can say whatever you want. However, if someone were to go and drink water tonight, that person would be making an enemy out of my Bai family. Since Bai Cixin had already said it to this point, everyone naturally wouldn't go and tell on Bai Cixin. After all, this was human nature. This Tang family is too excessive. They actually sent people over to mock us. Bai Cixin brought along Bai family's people and charged towards Tang family. Of course, there was also Wang Debao and Xiao Yi. A huge battle tonight is unavoidable. The people in the morning hall gradually dispersed, and only Do Fusher's gloomy expression was left behind. Death Mage suddenly appeared and brought Do Fusher away. Soon after, Death Mage transferred a bit of healing black mist to Do Fusher. Do Fusher immediately woke up. Whoa, you scared me to death, big brother. And you still dare to say that there is no danger? GGG. Imperial translation. Of course there is no danger, aren't you fine? Do Fusher's heart was filled with despair. After experiencing the thrill of death, this feeling is simply too terrifying. Sun Fong came over with a bowl of porridge. Drink some porridge, today's mission was done very well. Do Fusher happily received the bowl of porridge. Thank you, sister-in-law. Eldest sister-in-law treats me the best. It seems that she can't forget me, but it's not convenient for her to express it. At this moment, in Tang family's manor, Tang Wushuang was actually sitting in front of the dressing table, and his two wives were currently helping him put on makeup. Her expression did not change. Although she was disappointed, it was better than seeing her husband collapse. Am I beautiful? Tang Wushuang's voice had completely changed, and his face had also changed. Everything had changed. Quan Anrong looked at her husband in the mirror and took a deep breath. Her husband's appearance was getting better day by day, and he was about to lose to her. Furthermore, there was even a hint of flirtatiousness between her brows. Beautiful. Quan Anrong didn't dare to imagine what would happen next. It was the same for Mujia. Her husband had become neither human nor ghost, and she still had to keep smiling. Tang Wushuang stretched out his long and thin finger and stroked his own beautiful face. He was incomparably happy. So this is how it feels to become a woman. It seemed like his mentality had changed. Suddenly, Bai Cixin's delicate shout resounded from outside the house. Tang Wushuang, get out here and pay for my brother's death. Tang Wushuang's brows wrinkled, then snorted. Ignorant woman. Wushuang. His two wives called out worriedly. Tang Wushuang said, you two stay at home and wait for me to kill that bitch. Be careful. Tang Wushuang's current strength was much higher than before. If Tang Wushuang was a Santana in the past, then he was currently a Portia. Looking at Bai Cixin, Xiao Yi Wang Debao, and the others who were in front of him, Tang Wushuang shouted out, what are you looking for me for? Chapter 364. I'm Tang Wushuang. When he said that, half of the Bai family was stunned, looking at the beautiful woman in front of him. She is Tang Wushuang? Even if he had run away from the Koreans once, there was no way he would end up like this. Xiaoyi walked forward and shouted, stop acting mysterious, call Tang Wushuang out. I am Tang Wushuang. Tang Wushuang was also very angry, no one actually believed in him. In that case, he could only take out the ancient divine weapon piercing tomb. After obtaining Voidless Realm's confirmation, Voidless Realm returned the Ling Qi back to Tang Wushuang. Everyone looked at the ancient godly item in Tang Wushuang's hands and rubbed their eyes. Is this really Tang Wushuang? After all, an ancient godly item would only appear in the hands of the patriarch, who would give it to someone else. Are you really Tang Wushuang? Wang Debao found it hard to believe. This kind of woman is actually on the same level as my wife, my god. Also, how did Tang Wushuang's chest muscles become so big? Tang Wushuang's beautiful face sank, and in an instant, he emitted out a world-shaking spiritual energy, causing everyone from the Bai clan to be dumbstruck. If this person wasn't Tang Wushuang, then who could it be? Bai Cixin's killing intent was firm. No matter whether you're Tang Wushuang or not, I'm going to bathe this Tang clan in blood today. Bai Cixin, are you out of your mind? Voidless Realm had instructed us again and again. So what? You sent people over to humiliate me, so I'll definitely return it to you today. The 9 Demons Punishing Tower had already appeared in Bai Cixin's hand. Wang Debao took out a set of shiny golden armor from the system, while Xiao Yi took out the Xianyuan sword. Tang Wushuang recalled the people he had sent out and said in a deep voice, where are my people? Kill him. You dare to kill my brother-in-law. Tang Wushuang immediately emitted out a sharp killing intent. I'm not only going to kill your brother-in-law, I'm going to kill your entire family. Bai clan, listen up, slaughter the Tang clan. In order to avenge her brother, Bai Cixin was willing to pay any price. It could be seen how much she valued her brother. Tang Wushuang didn't expect that things would turn out like this. Today, he indeed had the intention of flirting with her by asking people to go and mourn her. However, he didn't expect that there would be such a result. However, Tang Wushuang wasn't scared, and he shouted, Tang clan's people, listen up. Kill. In an instant, both parties started fighting against each other. And right now, Tang Wushuang was actually able to fight against 3 people by himself. It could be seen that this cultivation technique was indeed powerful. In the villa, Gui Chengren stood by the window and looked at the situation outside, and his phone suddenly rang. Aya, it's updated. He immediately started reading. When Absolute Heaven, who was currently attending the banquet, received the report, the corner of his lips curled up slightly. He was in a very good mood. Sure enough, he had guessed correctly. Bai Cixin loved her younger brother very much. In order to avenge her younger brother, she even gave up her position as a member of an aristocratic family. For a woman who loved power, this choice was truly admirable. However, to Absolute Heaven, this was just a quest. If she could fall for it, she would naturally be happy. If she couldn't, it didn't matter. He naturally had other methods. Right now, I only need an opportunity, and everything will be so natural. The slightly happy Absolute Heaven hugged Dongfang Yu in his arms and started to take liberties with her again. Ju Tian, don't let's go home first. Dongfang Yuan said pitifully. That tender and pitiful look of hers made one's heart ache. But at the same time, it also made one unable to help but to want to continue bullying Ju Tian. Absolute Heaven nodded his head and said in a low voice, "Next time, don't wear such a long skirt." Guan Yinxin said sweetly, "Then I won't even wear underwear." "Sure," Absolute Heaven said with a deadpan expression, as if he was discussing a very deep problem. At the banquet, Duan Ho raised her head and drank a cup of wine, then asked, "Yi Xiao, I heard that your son and Sage Doctor disappeared together." "My son might have gone somewhere to handle some matters with Sage Doctor." Yi Xiao squeezed out a smile and said, "This is not what Chu family's young master said. This matter has to be investigated properly. The crime of murdering the son of an aristocratic family is not small." Duan Ho's words had the intention of sowing dissension, but that was the truth. Absolute Heaven, who was sitting below the banquet, caressed Dongfang Yu lightly and listened to their conversation. "Chu," he said gravely, "my son definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Duan Ho, you better pay attention to your words." Duan Ho said faintly, "However, I heard that after the banquet ended, young Master Chu brought along 2 ladies and left. Those 2 ladies were very eye-catching on that day." Yi Xiao and Chu He's gaze sunk, because in Chu Bai's confession, those 2 ladies did not appear. "Chu Bai, is what Duan Ho said true or not?" Chu He questioned angrily. Chu Bai felt uneasy in his heart. He didn't know if anyone saw the Qing sisters get on the carriage that day. Could it be that someone saw it? If someone really saw it, wouldn't it be troublesome? After all, they would go and find trouble with the Qing sisters. "Chu Bai, I'm asking you a question." Chu He shouted once again. Yes, all the patriarchs present gasped, because this was related to the level of snatching women. Yi Tai and Sage Doctor might have met with misfortune, and this Chu Bai was the first to complain, taking the initiative. Anyway, dead men tell no tales. However, Chu Bai still didn't know that the 2 of them were already dead. "However, I didn't kill them. They were the ones who forcefully snatched women. I was injured in order to save them. Fortunately, they lent a helping hand, and I managed to keep my life. However, we really didn't kill them at that time." Chu Bai's words were not convincing at all. It was full of loopholes. How could the 2 women be a match for Yi Tai and Sage Doctor? They didn't even know how to lie. Yi Xiao said to Chu He, "Old Chu." Chu He said in a deep voice, "Who knows, maybe those 2 women framed my son. Isn't that right, Chu Bai?" Chu Bai knew that his father was helping him, but he really couldn't afford to offend them. "No, they are very strong, but they are good people." Chu Bai hurriedly explained, telling everyone not to offend them. Yi Xiao said gravely, "Seems like we have to go and invite them to be our guests." "Unfilial son, take him down." Chu He shouted out angrily, "My son definitely didn't kill anyone, and I reckon that someone framed him. Could it be this Empress Duan? She was the one who instigated this matter." Dong, dong, dong. Suddenly, the bell rang throughout the entire Guan family. Guan Tong suddenly stood up. "Guards, what happened?" An imperial guard hurriedly ran over and said in panic, "Family head, an assassin came. Eldest young master, he. What happened to Guan Li?" Guan Tong's small eyes suddenly opened wide. Eldest young master was assassinated. The entire banquet immediately became silent. The son of an aristocratic family was assassinated in his own home. This was a slap to the face. This was a humiliation to the Guan family. "Where's the assassin?" Guan Tong shouted. "The assassin is still escaping." Right after Guan Tong finished speaking, a black figure quickly passed through the sky. Without even thinking, Guan Tong chased after the black figure. The other 4 family heads paused for a moment, then chased after the black figure as well. Chapter 365. Yin Xian, let's go catch the culprit, Zhu Tian said indifferently. He then brought the 2 women with him as he gave chase. After all, if it was too far away, it would be difficult to control it. Some corpses were still quite useful. A black figure was seen running away at high speed, followed by the clan masters of the 5 great clans. Such a situation was unprecedented. Behind them, Zhu Tian carried the 2 women in his arms as he leisurely followed behind them. "The matters that happen tonight will cause your wife to be vexed once again. If your wife is willing to listen to his honor's words, I wouldn't have to do all these things. At this time, the Tang family manor was flowing with blood. It was too horrible to look at. The ground was littered with the corpses of people from both sides, and broken limbs. At this moment, Tang Wushuang was also heavily injured, and blood was flowing down from his arm. Bai Cixin, Wang Debao, and Xiao Yi all had different kinds of injuries on their bodies. But they were just minor injuries, so they were nothing to be afraid of. It seemed like even with the three of them joining hands, Tang Wushuang was still unable to handle them. Wushuang, and Rong isn't going to make it. A few pretty wives ran out of the villa. Quan Rong's face was pale. There were no wounds on his body, but he was twitching as if he had been cursed. This was the vengeful spirit of the 9 demons' punishment pagoda. Quan Rong did not expect it to be entangled with him. Tang Wushuang's expression changed greatly as he ran to the front of his beloved wife. The ancient godly item that was in his hand fell onto the ground, and he hugged onto Quan Rong. And the ancient godly item that fell on the ground suddenly disappeared. Gui Chengren kept the ancient godly item, shook his head, and prepared to leave. And Rong! Tang Wushuang shouted out. Quan Rong's delicate body was entangled by the vengeful spirits. Her expression was one of agony, and it looked like she was about to die. Tang Wushuang's expression was flustered, and he hurriedly shouted towards Bai Cixin, who was in the sky. Bai Cixin, if you have any grudges, come at me. So what if you killed my woman? Tang Wushuang, what about you? So what if you killed my brother? Bai Cixin had no intention of letting go. You killed my younger brother, so I'll kill your woman. I'll let you experience the pain of losing a family member. Xiao Yi, who was at the side, looked at Tang Wushuang, who was far away. That helpless look of his is extremely similar to me back then. What was the difference between his actions and black robes? But for the family, they had no choice but to do so. Irony, a huge irony. When Tang Wushuang saw that his beloved wife was getting weaker and weaker, he actually turned around and knelt down to Bai Cixin. Bai Cixin, you can take my life, but let my woman go. Dream on. I want you to watch her die. You. Guantong wasn't in a hurry to stop the black-robed man, and he could only watch as the black-robed man turned into blood mist and fell onto the ground. Guantong slowly turned his head around and looked towards the other 4 family heads. Who was it? Who was the one who called him here? Jiang Yuanzhou said gravely. Family head Guan, please calm down. Jiang Yuanzhou, was it you? Yesterday, I made you lose face, and today you killed my son. How could Jiang Yuanzhou be able to stand being framed like this? He shouted out, Guantong. Without any evidence, don't slander me. All of you are suspects. I will report this matter to Voidless Realm, and have Voidless Realm give my Guan family justice. After finished speaking, Guantong left. The other 4 family heads looked at Tang family and Bai family, and Chu he said gravely, you all can just wait for Voidless Realm's punishment. The 4 family heads hurriedly left. Bai Cixin clenched her teeth and shouted out, retreat. Bai family head. Xiao Yi shouted out, this Tang Wushuang is letting him go just like that? Family head Xiao, the aristocratic families have already interfered. If you continue to kill him, it will be a crime punishable by extermination of your family. After finished speaking, Bai Cixin left with Wang Debao. There is a difference between fighting secretly and fighting without listening to others' advice. You are still afraid of the former, and you are completely not giving face to the latter. Xiao Yi looked at Tang Wushuang, who was carrying his wife, then let out a light sigh, then turned around and left. Today, I didn't manage to kill him, and instead, I still have to wait for Voidless Realm's punishment. I am truly unlucky. With unwillingness, Xiao Yi left Tang family. Meanwhile, Tang Wushuang, who was carrying his wife's corpse, walked into the house. This hatred is getting bigger and bigger. On the other side, Zhu Tian was carrying Dongfang Yuer and Guan Yanxin, who had already fainted. Looking at the faint light emitted from the forest, Zhu Tian carried the 2 women and walked towards the light source. Gui Chengren, who was reading a novel, suddenly stopped his footsteps, then turned off his phone and asked, Your Excellency, what's the matter? Zhu Tian placed the 2 women down, then rubbed onto his eyes and said faintly, Lend me that dagger. Gui Chunren turned around and looked towards Zhu Tian. Why? Because it isn't yours. Zhu Tian looked at Gui Chunren coldly. He didn't like this person at all. Gui Chunren chuckled. I have seen arrogant people before, but I have rarely seen someone as arrogant as you. Seems like my arrogance didn't disappoint you. Do you want me to fight with you? Zhu Tian asked curiously. Chapter 366. After setting up a barrier to protect the two women, Zhu Tian rubbed his eyes and said faintly, If I move a single step today, it will be my loss. Arrogant. Too arrogant. Too arrogant. Gui Chunren had never seen such a pretentious man before. To actually dare to say such words. Unbearable. All right. If I am unable to kill you today, you can take my life. All right. A breeze blew past, and a few fallen leaves slowly fell to the ground. The sound of the leaves swaying against each other could be heard. This made Zhu Tian recall some things. Hurry up and finish this, then go back and make them submit to me. Gui Chunren took out Ci Ling. Although Ci Ling is only a dagger, its might cannot be underestimated. Back then, Tang Wushuang even used it to pierce through Xiao Yi's armor. It is not an exaggeration to say that it can cut through iron like mud. And Gui Chunren's understanding of Ci Ling seems to be even more thorough. Spiritual cut. Following Gui Chunren's shout, the spiritual energy on his body gradually spread out, and actually rushed towards Ci Ling. Ci Ling greedily absorbed the spiritual energy like a 3-year-old child, and the blade of the dagger became brighter and brighter. Spiritual test. Gui Chunren raised Ci Ling with both hands. A layer of black clouds suddenly condensed in the sky. Boom! Boom! Thunder suddenly sounded out, and one after another, lightning struck down. Ci Ling was like a lightning rod as he absorbed the power of the lightning. Spiritual cut. An even more powerful spiritual energy gushed out from Gui Chunren's body, and gradually, the spiritual energy actually turned into a small white ball. Gui Chunren bit his finger, and a drop of blood slowly floated into the small white ball of spiritual energy. In an instant, the small white ball of spiritual energy turned red, and soon after, the small white ball of spiritual energy merged with Ci Ling. Right now, Ci Ling was alternating between white and red, emitting a wild might that sounded like the roar of 10,000 beasts. In front of Zhu Tian's eyes, it was as if the end of the world had arrived. Right now, Ci Ling was no longer a small dagger. Rather, it was an existence that was even more ferocious than an ancient godly item. This Ci Ling had already surpassed the level of an ancient godly item, which made Zhu Tian a bit curious. And after Gui Chunren finished using the buff, he became a lot weaker. After many years of comprehension, I have finally come up with this move. What bullshit, voidless realm. This move of mine will be able to take the Empress's head. After many years of comprehension and application, this was what Gui Chunren had learned from reading novels. Initially, he was just trying it out of curiosity, but he didn't expect to succeed. Reading novels was really a good thing. Absolute Heaven nodded his head. This person was indeed very powerful, especially that move of his. Speak. Just what are you here for? I'll leave you an intact corpse. Gui Chunren questioned. Zhu Tian calmly replied. I just wanted to use your dagger. Used for what? Gui Chunren asked curiously. My handmaiden is a member of the Dongfang family. As her master, I naturally have to help her clear her grievances. What a big tone. Washing away the injustice of the Dongfang family. Then I want to see if you have the ability to do so. Gui Chunren's eyes focused, and the spiritual energy on his body rose once again. It frantically engulfed the scene and caused a rumbling sound. As for Gui Chunren, he turned into a black afterimage and attacked toward Zhu Tian with deathly aura. His speed was so fast that it made people exclaim in admiration. Unfortunately, he had encountered Absolute Heaven, one of the 7 deadly sins bearing the mind. The right-hand man of the Supreme Honorable. Absolute Heaven slowly raised his hand and extended his index finger. Shwa! His index finger revealed a cat's claw, which glowed silver under the moonlight. Ding! The cat's claw and Ci Ling clashed together, and a muffled sound rang out. The sound was especially ear-piercing, and this sound actually turned into a sharp blade that engulfed the surroundings. All of the trees were chopped down, and a rumbling sound could be heard. Clearly, this is a dagger that can't even be considered as a nail clipper. Ju Tian looked at Gui Chungren, who was absent-minded, and said faintly. Gui Chungren blankly looked at the man in front of him. This is impossible. That attack from Ci Ling just now had the might of an ancient godly item. How is it possible for him to block it with his fingernail? This is impossible. Even the main character in the novel would not be so abnormal. Why is he able to block it with his fingernail? Ci Ling fell onto the ground powerlessly. Ju Tian stretched out his palm, and Ci Ling slowly fell onto his palm. Gui Chungren collapsed onto the ground and asked absent-mindedly, "Are you really able to wash away the injustice of the Dongfang family?" "I never lie," Ju Tian said with his hands behind his back. His voice was even a bit lower, and he was imitating his honor again. Gui Chungren seemed to be at ease and said faintly, "Come, end my life." "All right." He swung the dagger in his hand and pierced through Gui Chungren's heart before returning to his hand. Gui Chungren blankly looked at his chest that was bleeding, and then looked at Ju Tian. Why is this man not following the routine? Shouldn't he be curious? Shouldn't he ask first? Was he not surprised by her expression at all? Why did he kill himself without even thinking about it? "Do you have anything else to say?" "Gui Chungren." "Fuck, I'm about to die and you're only asking. Can't you be a little more attentive?" "Actually, I am also a member of the Dongfang family. Back then, I was the bodyguard beside the patriarch. When the patriarch knew that something big was going to happen, he ordered me to bring the real ancient godly item away and find an opportunity to take revenge. I originally thought that the Tang family would be able to squeeze into the aristocratic family, but I didn't expect that Bai Qi's death would make Bai Cixin so crazy. Once this matter comes out, the Tang family will definitely have no hope." Gui Chungren clutched onto his chest and said solemnly. Hearing that, Absolute Heaven said, Oh, you're just saying oh? Shouldn't you be moved by my actions? Then, they would heal me as soon as possible and join hands to deal with the 5 great clans? Can't you follow the plot of the novel? I am about to die. Absolute Heaven wasn't interested in this kind of matter. It's fine as long as I get the dagger. He turned around and helped the 2 girls up. Gui Chungren was greatly alarmed. What does this mean? Hey, are you not planning to save me? Gui Chungren found it hard to believe. When the plot reaches this point in the novel, they would always save people. After all, they are all doing it for the same goal. They are all on the same side. Absolute Heaven said faintly, Why? I am also a member of the Dongfang family. What does it have to do with me? Absolute Heaven asked curiously. PFFF. Gui Chungren vomited a mouthful of blood and almost fainted. If she were to know that you killed a loyal guard of the Dongfang family, she will hate you for life. You can be at ease, she will not know. Absolute Heaven silently thought of Guan Yinxin's brother, and he seemed to have said the same thing. Gui Chungren vomited another mouthful of blood. This Motherf Asterisk Kerr is not a human. If he appeared in a novel, he would definitely be a big villain. Furthermore, he would be a big villain that the protagonist would not be able to defeat. Gui Chungren breathed heavily and wanted to take out his phone, but he didn't have the strength to do so. Can you do me a favor and help me take out my phone? I want to see if the novel has been updated or not. Absolute Heaven felt that this person was a bit interesting and said faintly, Not helping. Gui Chungren struggled to take out his phone, opened the last chapter of the novel, and flipped to the last chapter. Chapter 367. Seeing such a line of words, Gui Chungren's scalp went numb, his eyes widened, and he couldn't help but shout, CNN scum. I'm about to die and you still want to break the chapter. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go. Trash author, Motherf Asterisk Kerr. Along with the roar, Gui Chungren's face became even paler. The blood in his chest seemed to have found an exit and flowed out desperately. Gui Chungren edited a message and sent it out. Then he crushed his phone and looked at the dark sky. In my next life, I want to be an author and take liberties with you. It was somewhere. A young man took out his phone, glanced at it calmly, and then deleted it. He took a deep breath and pushed open the door in front of him. The layout of the room was very simple. There were bookshelves around the wall, and a faint fragrance of paper filled the room. A man dressed in gorgeous clothes stood by the window, holding a book in his right hand. The soft moonlight shone on his body, making him look particularly mysterious. Mission failed. The man continued to read the book after listening. He stretched out his slender fingers and gently flipped through it. The subtle sound of flipping echoed in the room. It was obviously very ordinary, but in this environment, it made people's mood unstable, as if there was a big stone pressing on their chest, making them unable to breathe. The man didn't leave. He bowed and waited for the order. The man dressed in gorgeous clothes continued to read the book, and the sound of flipping could be heard from time to time in the room. No one knew how long had passed. Pa. The man closed the book and slowly turned around. He frowned slightly and asked, "Willio, when did you come?" 2 hours ago. Willio said lightly. The man nodded and asked in confusion, "Why didn't you call me?" Willio doesn't dare. "Sigh, you guys are so timid." The man seemed very helpless. Willio complained in his heart. "We have to be timid in front of you, otherwise, how can we set off your bravery?" The man sat in front of the desk, turned on the computer, logged into the QQ game, and was actually playing Link Link. "What's the matter so late?" the man asked with his chin propped up. "Gui Chungren failed. I already said that your plan won't work. These 3 giants are not under our control, so don't interfere with their affairs." The man said lightly. Willio lowered his head and said fearfully, "Willio is wrong. All right, it's not bad to teach you a lesson. Our mission is to monitor those reincarnated and transmigrators. In recent years, the space has been unstable, and reincarnated and transmigrators have come to our territory in droves, increasing the difficulty of our work." Thinking of this, the man seemed to be a little impatient. *CK, the workload has increased, but the salary has not increased, and they even proposed all kinds of regulations. This kind of enterprise will go bankrupt sooner or later. Boss, recently, the people below have been complaining that the people who have been reborn and transmigrated are quite strong. Some unlucky ones who have not recovered their strength are easy for us to catch, but some lucky ones are very difficult to catch. Moreover, the compensation for work-related injuries is not high. Everyone's mood is a little unstable. I've already reported this matter to the headquarters, but they haven't replied yet, the man said while looking at the computer screen. Boss, then shouldn't we? Wulu probed. The man waved his hand. Let's pick some unlucky ones first. Keep an eye on the powerful ones, and catch them all in one fell swoop. Yes. How is the situation in Longan City? The man asked curiously. Wulu revealed out a confident smile. Boss, don't worry. Last time, those people accidentally angered the child, so I arranged for them to retreat overnight. Soon after, I arranged for some other people to retreat, and they were easily deceived. The man nodded his head and said, 5 years ago, this man transmigrated over with 2 people, yet he has been staying at home all this time. Furthermore, he even managed to get together with Voidless Realm's Empress. This dog shit luck sure is good. There is also Qingya. This kind of luck with women is truly amazing. Wu Lu said gravely. Boss, although this boss has been staying at home all this time, I feel that he is related to a lot of things. The man let out a breath, then said faintly, Then, let's increase his danger level by 1. The man could be seen opening up Word and searching for A-rank personnel. Yihua's name was within it. Copy. Then, paste his name into the S rank. And within the S rank, there were a few familiar faces. For example, Xiao Yi, Chen Xuanzong, and the others. And within the folder, there was also a danger level of SS. There was even an even higher danger level of SSS. For trash like Wei Chong and Lai Gu, their danger level was E rank. Zhu Tian's danger level was actually F rank. Yi Zizi's danger level was a bit higher, reaching B rank. Long Outyan's danger level was even in the last place. His danger level was G rank. Tell our brothers to rest up for the time being. After the headquarters distribute the equipment and funds, We will capture them one by one. The man yawned and looked at the time. It is already 3 p.m. It is time to sleep. Yes, you can leave now. Right, there has been no news of Nangong Sini, who was arranged to stay by Xiao Yi's side for a long time. Go and check what is going on. Yes. Chen Xuanzong's side has to be arranged as well. Yes. This group of people belonged to the government, and this place was also a branch office. Time and space branch office. As long as someone reincarnated or transmigrated, they would send people to capture them. Most of the people that transmigrated were very weak, and their strength had not recovered to their peak. The work was still rather easy. However, there were some people who were lucky, such as Xiao Yi and Chen Xuanzong, who were considered to have reincarnated with strength. Therefore, these people only needed to be monitored, and when the time is right, they would be captured, crippled of their strength, and sent back. However, Yihua never expected that his danger level was only A rank, and it was only now that his danger level was raised to S rank. I am a homicidal maniac, can't you all be a bit more attentive? If I want to evaluate my danger level, I am definitely number 1. If you don't agree, then argue. No. If you don't agree, then fight. Zhu Tian sent the 2 women back to the staff dormitory, then went to report today's news. Yihua was originally sleeping, but after knowing that Zhu Tian came to report today's news, he immediately lost his sleepiness. Because Yihua wanted to teach them a lesson, then wait for them to come back with an apologetic gaze. Zhu Tian reported everything that happened tonight, and he even told Yihua some of his thoughts. Good. Very good. After Yihua heard what Zhu Tian said, he was extremely satisfied. Not only did I mess up the aristocratic family's election, I even caused the relationship between the aristocratic families to become even more tense. Zhu Tian, go ahead and do what you want. At most, they would only be guessing, but they do not have any evidence to prove that you are one of my people. Yihua was very excited. If this goes on, it won't be long before they surrender and return to Yihua. I still have my trump card, and the longevity fruit will definitely be able to make everyone go crazy. Although Yihua was furious, he didn't want to expose everything at once. After all, this was a rare opportunity to teach them a lesson. Chapter 368. Very good. I feel much more at ease now that you are in charge. Zhu Tian was terrified. Your honor's words are too serious. Doing things for your honor is the way of the heavens. Subordinate doesn't dare to be greedy. Yihua patted onto Zhu Tian's shoulder. All right, go back and properly comfort that woman. This subordinate understands. Yihua waved his hand, and Zhu Tian disappeared from the office. I can have a good sleep tonight. I'll see how they decide tomorrow. It was not so easy to be a good person. A good person had to go through 81 tribulations to become a Buddha. As for the bad guys, they only needed to lay down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha. Early morning in Voidless Realm, celestial mist lingered around. The environment was elegant, and it could be said to be a fairyland. Donghuang Baiji, who was in her bedroom, pursed her lips and turned her body. Her jade-like arms seemed like she wanted to hug someone, but in the end, she hugged nothing but air. Slowly opening her beautiful eyes, Yihua discovered that she was sleeping on the familiar imperial bed. Yihua let out a breath. I am already used to Yihua sleeping beside me, and now that he is suddenly not here, I am a bit not used to it. Your Majesty, the elders are already waiting in the main hall. A maid stood behind the curtain and said. Donghuang Baiji stood up, and the 4 maids hurriedly walked up to her and placed the emperor robe that was on the clothes rack onto Donghuang Baiji's body. After that, they prepared some clean water to wash up. As for the other 2 maids, they combed their hair into a bun, and finally, they put on the crown. The living empress appeared. Her beautiful face was filled with lofty majesty. Her beautiful eyes were calm, but there was a hint of sternness. The female attendants in the surroundings bowed, not daring to look directly at the empress's face, but they could also feel the empress's imposing aura. This was the correct way to activate Donghuang Baiji. Walking out of the sleeping quarters, a group of golden-robed and silver-armored figures followed behind. Swoosh swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh. The sound resounded throughout Voidless Realm, and it was as if the sound was telling everyone in Voidless Realm that the Empress had woken up. At this moment, everyone who had woken up looked towards the highest mountain peak in Kowtow. Donghuang Baiji had already gotten used to this kind of lifestyle. She walked towards the palace with large strides, and on her way there, she enjoyed everyone kowtowing to her. He slowly walked up to the throne and stood on it without sitting down. Yuan Da and the others, who were standing below, shouted in unison, "Greetings, Your Majesty. May the Empress live as long as the heavens. All of you get up." Donghuang Baiji raised her jade-like arm, then sat down. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The dozen or so people stood up and lowered their heads slightly, not daring to look directly at the face of the Empress. "What's the matter so early in the morning?" Donghuang Baiji asked faintly. Yuan Da and the others faltered. In the past, the Empress would never mention this. "Isn't it all because I was pampered by Yi Hua? For the past few days, I have basically been sleeping with Yi Hua until 10 in the morning. Therefore, she was very angry when she woke up." Xing Han cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, last night, 2 major events happened in the north. I hope Your Majesty can make a decision." Donghuang Baiji sighed lightly. Why did something happen again? Why didn't he have so many things to do in the past? He had only left home for 2 days. Could he still leave the house quietly? It must definitely be Yi Hua, that miser. "What is it now?" Donghuang Baiji asked faintly. He Xian said respectfully, "Last night, the Guan family's young master was assassinated in his house. Coincidentally, the patriarchs of the 5 great clans were having a meeting and discovered the murderer. They chased after the murderer, but unexpectedly, they saw 2 of the aristocratic clans having a bloody battle. Both sides suffered heavy losses, and the murderer looked at the patriarchs of the 4 great clans before he died. This made Guan Tong think that the murderer must have been arranged by one of the 4 great clans." Donghuang Baiji, "Yuan Da, say it again. Be more detailed." Donghuang Baiji said coldly, "What is going on? First it's the murderer. Then it's the aristocratic clan's bloody battle. Then it's the gaze." Donghuang Baiji felt that her head was going to explode. If Yi Hua was able to see Donghuang Baiji's current state, he would definitely feel great. "Weren't you very arrogant when you left? If you have the ability, then stay outside for your entire life." Yuan Da told Donghuang Baiji everything that happened. This caused Donghuang Baiji to be very angry. This Tang family, and by family, are really not obedient at all. I already said that private fights are not allowed, and they actually disregarded my words. At this moment, Yu Quan, who was standing at the back, cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, regarding the aristocratic clan's bloody battle, it seems like it was Tang Wushuang who sent people to the Tang family's mourning hall to create trouble, and that was why Bai Cixin brought people to attack Tang family." After hearing that, Donghuang Baiji said gravely, "Everyone, let's rest for an hour first. After an hour, we will continue discussing." Yes, in the past, Donghuang Baiji was very decisive, but ever since she got a man, she became very indecisive. It seems like she would listen to everything that Yi Hua said, and she would do whatever Yi Hua said. Now that Yi Hua wasn't around anymore, everyone felt that it was strange. However, I can still look for Qingye to discuss with her. After all, such a thing has never happened before. Arriving at Donghuang Li's courtyard, Qingye and Donghuang Li woke up very early, and Donghuang Li was currently wielding a sword that was as tall as a person. "Mommy," Donghuang Baiji shouted out, then pounced onto her mother's embrace and gave her mother a kiss. Donghuang Baiji stroked onto her daughter's hair. "Ollie, continue to practice your sword. Mommy has something to discuss with Mommy Qing." "Sai, Mommy, you should go and look for Daddy. Daddy is very smart. He is able to solve Mommy's problem in an instant." Donghuang Li was constantly thinking about Daddy and Mommy. Donghuang Baiji said petulantly, "Alright, Ali only cares about Daddy, and doesn't even love Mommy anymore. How is that possible? Ali loves Mommy Wu." After having a warm moment with her child, Donghuang Baiji walked to the pavilion. With a smile on her face, Qingye poured a cup of water for the Empress. "What's wrong? Why do you look so gloomy this early in the morning? Donghuang Baiji drank the cup of bejeweled jade immortal dew, then sighed and said, Something happened again last night. Ah. Donghuang Baiji told Qinya about what happened, and after listening to Donghuang Baiji's explanation, Qinya's brows tightly wrinkled. Qinya, do you think that Yi Hua is behind all of this? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Qinya shook her head. I don't know either. Logically speaking, it is very normal for Tang and Bai family to fight with each other. Right now, the thing that is suspicious is that the culprit seems to have intentionally brought the 5 aristocratic families to the scene, allowing others to discover that Tang and Bai family were fighting with each other. Then is such an action good or bad? Even if the aristocratic families don't know about it, the news would still spread today. Donghuang Baiji voiced out the doubt that was in her heart. Qinya was also confused, then said gravely, Right now, the most important thing is to calm down the situation. Don't let the aristocratic families start fighting with each other. Tang and Bai family should be punished. Donghuang Baiji thought so too. I want to go and take a look at the situation. I might be able to find some clues. Donghuang Baiji snorted. Do you think that the culprit is Yi Hua? Qinya asked with a smile. Donghuang Baiji clenched her teeth. If it is really Yi Hua, I will bite him to death. Baiji, isn't this a bit too light? You are only going to bite him to death? Qinya said teasingly, then took a sip of tea. What do you say then? Qinya said faintly. Make Yi Hua kneel on the keyboard. Chapter 369. I agree as well, Baiji. Quickly go and look for him. Donghuang Baiji went into a daze, then dragged Qinya along. You come with me. Qinya smiled bitterly. There's no need for that. No matter what, we are sisters who have gone through thick and thin together. And furthermore, we are going to join hands to deal with Yi Hua. But a lot of people know me. Qinya said. Yi Xiao and Chu He had seen me that night. That's true. Qinya smiled and said. Why don't I pretend to be your maid? Is that okay? I am afraid that Yi Hua will teach me a lesson for using his beloved as a maid. Donghuang Baiji smiled mischievously. Qinya pinched Donghuang Baiji. You dare to tease me? The two women immediately started messing around. Donghuang Li, who was at the side, put down her sword and let out a breath. Lady is really childish. This is the first time we see the Empress acting like this. So it seems that she is actually not much different from us. When Voidless Realm spread out the news of the Empress going on an inspection tour, everyone went into an uproar. The last time the Empress went on an inspection tour was 100 years ago. That time, it was because of the matter of Dongfang family secretly hiding an ancient godly item. And the one who went on an inspection tour was Donghuang Baiji's father. After 100 years, the Empress of Voidless Realm went on an inspection tour again. The entire north immediately became filled with a solemn atmosphere, especially the family heads of Zijin City. They were all on tenterhooks, but they were also excited. Voidless Realm's Empress. My God. He had thought that he wouldn't be able to see her in his lifetime. But he never expected that he would get the chance now. At Zijin City's international airport, a Boeing 747 landed, and the passengers who were waiting for the plane stood up one after another to size up the plane. Because there were strange and lifelike divine beasts painted on the body of the plane. This is the first time I saw a plane with tattoos on it. This is too strange. However, the plane drove towards a private airport, and black vehicles drove into the airport one after another. Everyone was discussing, just what kind of big shot is this? Could it be that he is the president of some country? Right now, Qinya was disguised as Donghuang Baiji's maid, and her appearance was completely changed. No one was able to see through her disguise. Looking at the 20-plus phantom cars that were parked at the side, Qinya smiled and said, Baiji, isn't this a little too big? Qinya, this kind of formation isn't too big. After all, I am the Empress. How can I not have a formation? Donghuang Baiji smiled lightly. Donghuang Baiji was no longer wearing her imperial robe, and had changed into a very professional CEO outfit. Qinya was just like a little secretary, and she was actually wearing black stockings. But now, All of the luxurious facilities had been moved away, and there was only a throne placed on the rostrum, which gave off a solemn atmosphere. And below the throne stood around 100 people, and all of them were the family heads of Zijin City, as well as the people from the surrounding cities. Of course, there were also the 5 aristocratic families. Everyone didn't dare to whisper or discuss with each other, and their faces were all calm. Of course, there were also some who were excited. After all, they were going to be able to see the Empress soon. However, to Tang family and Bai family, today was the day where their family's fate would be decided. In actuality, they could already guess the result. Xiaoyi was very nervous as well. He had participated in the crime yesterday, and he didn't know what kind of punishment he would receive. If he killed the person, he would have to accept the punishment. If he didn't kill the person, he would have to accept the punishment as well. I am not willing to accept this. Tang Wushuang was still wearing a suit today, and a white ribbon was tied on his head. No matter what, I must get justice for my beloved wife today. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao were naturally present as well. The husband and wife didn't have much fear. Since we have already done it, then we should be prepared to accept the punishment. The 5 family heads stood at the front of the group. Guantong lost his beloved son yesterday, and his hair actually grew white. From this, it could be seen just how sad and indignant he was. Furthermore, he had also become skinny. When he looked at the other 4 family heads, his gaze was definitely not friendly. Furthermore, under anger, Guantong did the same thing as Bai Cixin. Chen Xuanzong was also present at the scene. Last night, he didn't know that something happened, and he only heard about it this morning. The reason why his mood was so good was because Xiaoyi was also present at the scene. When the Empress arrives, this Xiaoyi will definitely not be able to bear the consequences. Even the heavens are helping me. Within the crowd, there was a stranger that everyone didn't recognize. Perhaps he isn't from Zijin City, and thus, no one thought too much about it. After all, the reason why they came here today was to see the Empress. However, this stranger was precisely Yi Hua. From Zhu Tian's ears, he heard that Baiji was coming to uphold justice. As a husband, he naturally had to come and see his wife's performance. Perhaps, he might even be able to swindle her a bit. Who asked you all to act cool? Hearing the sound of the elevator door, Yi Hua immediately looked towards the elevator door. Chapter 370. The sound of high heels suddenly rang out and echoed within the spacious banquet hall. Although it was just a simple sound, it deeply entered everyone's heart, as if that foot was stepping on everyone's head. Just this sound alone made everyone prostrate themselves in admiration. As expected of Voidless Realm's Empress, we can only kneel and lick her. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. So this Baiji also likes to act cool. I like women who act cool. After you all admit defeat, I will let you all live a life where you can't leave my bed. Donghuang Baiji's figure gradually appeared in everyone's line of sight, and all of the family heads couldn't help but gasp. Is this a fairy? No, no, no. Saying that she is a fairy is blasphemy to the Empress. The Empress's appearance can no longer be described with words. The word beautiful is an insult to the Empress. At this moment, some of the family heads couldn't help but think of that woman from the auction. Her beauty is definitely comparable to the Empress. Donghuang Baiji swept her cold gaze across everyone, and everyone immediately lowered their heads, not daring to look straight at her. The Empress has arrived! Everyone squatted down and shouted, "Eternal glory to the Empress!" Yi Hua, who was within the crowd, had no choice but to squat down. If not, they would definitely look down on him. Get up, Donghuang Baiji said faintly. Yi Hua stood up and looked at the woman beside Donghuang Baiji. Why does she look so familiar? A red light flashed past Yi Hua's eyes. So it's my Qingya. I told you to wear stockings, but you refused to wear them even if I beat you to death. I am not by your side, but you are still wearing stockings in front of so many people. I will remember this, and in the future, I will put stockings on your head. Why does it feel so weird to put stockings on your head? Donghuang Baiji walked onto the rostrum and sat on the throne. All of the imperial guards stood guard around her, while Yuanda and the others stood 5 meters away from Donghuang Baiji. to prevent anyone from sneak attacking her. After all, if she is not in Voidless Realm, the Empress's life will be threatened. Xiao Yi felt that the Empress in front of him was very beautiful. Even when he was an immortal emperor, he had never seen such a beautiful woman before. Such a beauty is very rare in the world. If I am able to bring her into my room, it would truly be a wonderful thing. However, I only dare to think about it in my heart. Chen Xuanzong sighed. However, his heart could no longer contain any other women. Only Qingye existed in his heart. Right now, Tang Wushuang didn't have the mood to look at the Empress's appearance. He only wanted to seek justice for his beloved wife. Wang Debao couldn't help but compare the Empress with his beloved wife. Although the Empress is prettier than my wife has unlocked a lot of difficult moves, so my wife is still the best. If Yi Hua were to find out about this, he would definitely feel disdain. I will allow them to completely unlock any technique, and then give me the most comfortable enjoyment. Actually, this was also the first time that the clan heads of the 5 great clans had seen the Empress in all her glory. They felt that she was much more beautiful than in the video. Back then, when Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were fighting against Zhu Tian, someone took a video and uploaded it onto the cultivation forum, causing a huge sensation. It was just that Qingye was wearing a set of ancient godly armor that covered a wide area, so her appearance could not be seen clearly. I have come here today to settle the matter that has happened over the past few days. Donghuang Baiji's opening speech was very simple and concise, and she did not ask about Donghuang Baiji's well-being at all. This made Yi Hua acknowledge that instead of making any opening speech, it would be better to directly get to the point. Everyone present shouted out, "We respectfully obey my Empress's sacred words." Yi Hua suddenly had a bold idea. He immediately rushed forward, pressed the Empress under his body, and kissed her madly. I want to let these people know that the Empress is my woman. However, I will first endure it for now. I will let this group of salted fishes know about it in the future. Donghuang Baiji waved her hand, and Yuquan took a step forward and shouted out, "Bai Cixin, Wang Debao, Xiao Yi, Tang Wushuang." Along with Yuquan's shout, 4 people slowly walked out from the crowd and stood in the middle of the crowd. Still not kneeling down, Yuquan shouted out. Tang Wushuang kneeled down very decisively. The other 3 people also slowly kneeled down. Under the enormous machine that was Voidless Realm, they could only submit, nothing else. Donghuang Baiji said faintly, "I will give each of you a chance to explain yourselves." The 4 people below lowered their heads and seemed to be thinking about how to explain themselves. Everyone was looking at them, and they knew that today's matter would definitely not be settled so easily. Since the Empress asked you all to explain yourselves, you all just have to explain yourselves. Yuquan shouted out coldly. The consequences of pretending to be mute were even more severe. Tang Wushuang was the first to speak, but when he spoke, everyone was shocked. This was clearly a woman. Thinking back then, Tang Wushuang was also a graceful and elegant young man, and could be said to be a young man with a purple gold jade face. I didn't expect that today Tang Wushuang would be like this. This really makes people sigh endlessly. Your Majesty, Bai Cixin is cruel and merciless. She broke into the Tang residence in the middle of the night and killed our disciples. He didn't even let my beloved wife off, and Wang Debao and Xiao Yi, these 2 accomplices. I hope the Empress will uphold justice for me. Even if I, Tang Wushuang, am guilty, what did my wife do wrong? Bai Cixin snorted coldly. Your wife is not wrong. What did my little brother do wrong? When you killed my brother, you never thought that this day would come. Bai Cixin, your brother committed suicide by jumping off a building. What does that have to do with me? My wife was killed by you. Many people can prove that. Right now, both of Tang Wushuang's eyes were completely red, and even his voice had become hoarse. It could be seen how big of a blow his beloved wife's death was to him. If you didn't insult my younger brother, would my younger brother commit suicide? You are twisting words and forcing logic. Enough! Donghuang Baiji shouted out coldly. Tang Wushuang and Bai Cixin lowered their heads. Have you all forgotten about my Voidless Realm's command? Or are you all treating my voidless realm's words as farts? Donghuang Baiji released out the power of her bloodline, instantly intimidating everyone. Even the family heads of the 5 influential families were trembling in fear, let alone the other small families. Yihua admired Baiji's methods very much. Sometimes one should use force to suppress others. Baiji could be considered to have passed the test, and Qingye didn't give any evaluation. We don't dare, the 4 people said in unison. Donghuang Baiji snorted coldly and gradually released out her killing intent. Don't dare? But you all dare. Your Majesty, it was Tang Wushuang who provoked us first. Bai Cixin hurriedly explained. Tang Wushuang said, Your Majesty, although I am in the wrong, he killed my brother-in-law and my beloved wife. Just because he provoked us? He is just looking for an excuse. Transvestite Tang. Did you eat sh*t this morning? Your mouth stinks. Wang Debao couldn't help but shout it out. Yuquan shouted out gravely. Wang Debao, pay attention to your words. Don't discuss the Honorable Your Majesty. Yes, yes. Wang Debao panicked. Just now I was just being straightforward. Chapter 371. Xiao Yi, what is your motive? Donghuang Baiji suddenly asked Xiao Yi. In actuality, this was what Qingye wanted to ask. This Xiao Yi's wife was hounded to death by Yihua's subordinates, and right now, he was helping someone else to kill Tang Wushuang's wife. What does this count as? Xiao Yi's behavior made Qingye a bit disappointed. To quarrel with her husband just because of him, it doesn't seem to be worth it. If Yihua were to know what Qingye was thinking, he would definitely scold her. Now that he knew he was wrong, what had he done back then? I am your husband. Even if I become the enemy of everyone, you have to stand behind me and support me silently. Xiao Yi took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Tang Wushuang tried to kill me back then, so I want to kill him. Yet another person, who does not place this empress in his eyes. Donghuang Baiji said coldly. Xiao Yi quickly explained. Your Majesty, Xiao Yi wouldn't dare, but this is a rare opportunity, so I have to gamble. Then, how did you feel when you saw an innocent woman die? Donghuang Baiji asked faintly. In actuality, this was the question that Qingye wanted to know. Yihua, who was within the crowd, naturally knew that Xiao Yi was not a good person. Qingye, you are really stupid. Xiao Yi's expression slightly changed. Quan Anrong's death reminded him of his wife, but for the future of the Xiao family, he had to do this. Xiao Yi calmly said, I don't feel anything. Qingye, who was standing at the back, revealed a disappointed expression. Xiao Yi's way of doing things was no different from Yihua's subordinates, killing someone else's woman. I suddenly feel that sometimes Yihua is right. Perhaps it was really his fault. Donghuang Baiji nodded her head, then let Yuquan announce their punishment. Yuquan said to the 4 of them, I will now carry out your punishment, and you can only accept it. Otherwise bear the consequences. Yes. The 4 of them kowtowed and listened to the coming punishment. Yuquan said faintly. Tang family and Bai family went against Voidless Realm's order, and had a bloodbath in private. From now on, you are not allowed to run for the position of an aristocratic family. The scene was in an uproar. The consequences of a fight were so serious. This was too exaggerated. Of course, Donghuang Baiji had to punish Voidless Realm severely. This matter was related to Voidless Realm's face, and what they did was equivalent to slapping Voidless Realm's face. How could Donghuang Baiji possibly let Voidless Realm off lightly? Bai Cixin and Tang Wushuang thought that this was the only punishment, and they let out a sigh of relief, then said in unison, Thank you, Your Majesty, for not killing us. Yuquan shouted, I haven't finished yet. This is the first crime. Everyone. Bai Cixin and Tang Wushuang hurriedly lowered their heads. Through Voidless Realm's evaluation, the 3 family heads are not suitable to control ancient godly items. In order to avoid harming commoners, the 3 family heads' ancient godly items will be taken back. Yuquan's following words caused everyone to be shocked. Take back the ancient godly item. This was too overbearing, too unreasonable. After all, someone had risked his life to obtain this ancient godly item. How could he just hand it over just like that? Everyone was watching the movements of the three family heads. Xiao Yi couldn't believe it. He had to take back his Xianyuan sword just because he was involved in the aristocratic family competition. They were simply robbers. This was clearly an excuse. Xiao Yi, I'm not convinced. Bai Cixin slowly stretched out her palm, and the 9-story demon tower appeared in her hand. Black fog immediately swirled around it. Yu Quan opened his palm, and the 9-story demon tower landed on Yu Quan's hand. Although it was just a blink of an eye, this caused everyone to become gloomy. They had experienced the power of Voidless Realm. If I tell you to hand over the ancient godly item, you have to hand it over. Bai Cixin's choice was very wise. Tang Wushuang. Yu Quan shouted. Tang Wushuang explained. During the fight yesterday, I lost my ancient godly item. Lost. Everyone present didn't believe it. Tang Wushuang definitely hid it. Didn't you hug such an important thing to sleep with? And you actually lost it? Or are you trying to bluff? Tang Wushuang. If you dare to bluff the Empress again, everyone in your Tang family will have to die. Yu Quan let out a murderous aura. This Tang Wushuang is too unreasonable. If I hand over the ancient godly item right now, I will still be able to keep my life. Tang Wushuang was greatly startled and said in fright, Your Majesty, this lowly one doesn't dare to speak a single lie. Yesterday my beloved wife was injured, and at that time, my mind wasn't clear. I don't know where the ancient godly item went, Your Majesty. Please believe in my words. Bai Cixin snorted. Your Majesty, you mustn't believe in Tang Wushuang's words. He just wanted to keep it for himself. Bai Cixin, don't spout nonsense. You know what you are doing. Bai Cixin sneered. Yu Quan looked towards Donghuang Baiji. Donghuang Baiji said faintly, Tang Wushuang, if I find out that you are lying, I will definitely not forgive you. A mirror could be seen appearing in Donghuang Baiji's hand. Everyone was puzzled. Donghuang Baiji said coldly, This is an ancient godly item, mirror of truth. It is able to display the image in one's mind. Tang Wushuang, this is the last time I am asking you. If I find out that you are lying, this is a crime worthy of extermination. Tang Wushuang doesn't dare to lie to Your Majesty. Tang Wushuang's insistence made everyone believe him. At this moment, only an idiot would deny it. All right. Along with Donghuang Baiji raising her hand, the mirror of truth appeared in front of Tang Wushuang. Tang Wushuang looked at himself in the mirror, then slowly closed his eyes and searched for the memory of last night. As expected, an image appeared in the mirror. When Tang Wushuang saw that his beloved wife was injured, he hurriedly ran over. The ancient godly item in his hand indeed fell onto the ground, then mysteriously disappeared. The image disappeared. Donghuang Baiji kept the mirror of truth. This Tang Wushuang didn't lie. But where did the ancient godly item go? This is too strange. Xiao Yi. Yu Quan shouted out towards the depressed Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi was struggling in his heart. If he were to hand over Xianyuan's sword, Xiao family's strength would definitely suffer a great loss. Furthermore, Xiao family's strength would also stop at the level of a family. Voidless Realm is trying to cut off all of my thoughts. Yu Quan shouted out gravely once again. Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi slowly raised his head and asked, Your Majesty, Xianyuan's sword is mine. Before Xiao Yi could finish speaking, Yu Quan interrupted him. Hand over Xianyuan's sword. The atmosphere of the scene immediately became depressed. Xiao Yi's face alternated between white and red, and a struggle could be seen on his face. Since Tang family, and by family's ancient godly item has already been taken away, the accomplice's ancient godly item must definitely be taken back. This was also Donghuang Baiji's intention. In the end, they only have themselves to blame. Yi Hua, who was within the crowd, felt that there was nothing wrong with this kind of punishment. However, this punishment was still too light. What is the point of keeping a subordinate who doesn't obey orders? Because sooner or later, that subordinate will definitely rebel against you. After all, he once didn't put you in his eyes. Especially the current Xiao Yi. Although he was struggling in his heart, but thinking about it carefully, what was he struggling for? He was struggling to obey Voidless Realm. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.